same one we were asking back at the start. Can Lance Armstrong be beaten? Well, back then most people said no. This is what they say now.
Lance Armstrong peut perdre le Tour de France parce qu'il n'est pas à l'abri ni d'une chute ni d'une maladie. Ça, c'est pour les points qu'on ne maîtrise pas. Et d'un point de vue physique, c'est vrai qu'il est moins, ou il paraît moins fort que ces dernières années.
Well, all the indications that Lance will take some beating, but as we've seen, he's not as dominant as he has been in previous years, and I think the Pyrenees will test him to the full.
I don't think so, but one day arrive no win the Tour de France, but for this year is my favorite.
Penso di no perché non ci sono avversari che possono insidiarlo, c'è chi va forte a cronometro non va in salita, c'è chi va in salita non va a cronometro, quindi per quest'anno penso che non possa perdere.
Lance Armstrong is going to annihilate the field, especially when we get into the Pyrenees.
No, I don't think he will lose it. It's going to be more difficult for him to win this tour, not as convincing as other years, but I still think he will win because of his time trial abilities. The other ones for the general, the most dangerous ones, Maya for example, I think in the time trial he's not so strong, so Lance will still win this tour.
I think he can lose the Tour de France this year, and that's why there have been so many attacks on his overall lead, because riders are beginning to think that he has got a weakness.
Je ne sais pas s'il le perdra, mais c'est cette année où il a les plus petits écarts par rapport à ses poursuivants. Ce sera de toute façon très difficile pour lui.
Now, outside of time trials, today's stage is the shortest of the entire race at 153.5 kilometres. There are 2 intermediate sprints, 1/3 category climb in the middle, and with a day's rest in the legs, it should be a fast finish here in Toulouse. Just what you need to inspire you as you return to the pain of competition after a day off. The sight of a Hollywood millionaire who'll be completing the stage by limousine and helicopter. Anyway, Arnie was at the start, and he'll be back to present the yellow jersey at the end of the stage, which, despite storms elsewhere in France, was shaping up as another scorcher. Bad news for Jens Voigt, who was suffering from gastric problems and struggling to stay well hydrated early in the stage. In fact, just struggling overall. One of his teammates, though, Stuart O'Grady, was in the day's big break.
Hi, I'm Mario Arts, and you're watching Tour de France on ITV.
We've had a lot of emails from you asking where 5-time Tour winner Miguel Indurain is these days and what he's up to. Well, I can tell you he turned 39 yesterday and celebrated incidentally by riding the Etape de Tour. Nowadays, he divides his time between writing for the Spanish paper Marca, working as a consultant for the UCI and running a sports foundation in his native region of Navarre. Now, before the Armstrong era, Indurain was indisputably the king of tomorrow's stage, the time trial. He built each and every one of his Tour victories on his dominance in that discipline. Well, earlier on, we caught up with him and asked him to look back on his years at the top of the Tour.
No tengo muchos recuerdos, pero 3 son quizá pues mi primera participación en el Tour en el año 85, que duré solo 4 etapas. La victoria que conseguí en Ardiden en el año 90, un mano a mano con Red Lemon, fue para mí importante porque fue ganar en montaña con mi peso, con mi última etapa reina. Y luego la primera victoria en París del primer Tour del año 91, fue emocionante y fue algo muy bonito el llegar a París vestido amarillo. Bueno, ese año me preparé bien, luché a tope por llegar al Tour en buenas condiciones. Pero luego la carrera no me salió bien, tuve problemas, hizo mucho frío, muchos problemas de salud y eso, y no me salió la carrera bien, pero llegué al Tour en buenas condiciones y al final la carrera te pasa siempre 21 días, son muy difíciles de pasar y siempre tienes algún problema. Bueno, porque son muchos años, ¿no? Son muchos años, normalmente la carrera de un deportista son 10 años, entonces los primeros años son de aprendizaje y luego ya de ganar, y siempre te sale algún problema, algún año tienes problemas de tendinitis, otro año problemas de salud, y tener 5 años buenos es difícil en una carrera deportiva. Suerte, tener moral, no tener percances, caídas y tener que todo te vaya bien para ganar 5 veces.
Now then, just to give heart to the rest of us, Big Mig took part in yesterday's Etape du Tour when the public tackled a stage of the race a few days in advance of the riders. It was the stage 16 route from Pau to Bayonne, and he actually abandoned. Anyway, back on stage 11, his old Banesto team, ibanesto.com as it is now, have a man in the breakaway, Juan Antonio Fletcher, and there's been no real change since we left it. The 8-man group is still out front and heading towards Toulouse.
Latest time check, it's holding. It's absolutely holding at 2:36 now. It looks as though the peloton is travelling at exactly the same speed as the breakaway. And there's a chance here. We're running into the last. They're looking for the 20 kilometre to go banner in this front group. 12 miles from the finish. We'll adopt Paul Sherwin's secret formula of 1 minute per 10 kilometres now, and it could about work out. Catch on the line.
It could work out as a catch on the line. The big advantage this breakaway has, though, that is it's 8 riders, and all 8 riders seem to be participating in the pacemaking at the moment. If it was a 3 or 4 man breakaway, I would say right now this break would get caught. But I'm not going to put my reputation on the line just yet, because I have a feeling these guys have got a pretty good chance of survival, because in the main field behind it's the French team, July Le Bourg-d'Oisans, doing the majority of the chasing. But they're not a big engine team right now. They're not a team like the team of Alessandro Patacchi was in the first week. They're like a Fassa Bortolo. They're a second division team, and they don't have the firepower. And once again, wishing 100 years of anniversary to the Tour de France, without forgetting the Grand Raymond Poulidor, the champion of the podium.
Absolutely, the Limousin. He came from Limoges, and he was the eternal second of the Tour de France. He never even wore the yellow jersey. Always beaten by usually Jacques Anquetil. But what a wonderful man. And he's on the race, still works here on the race, got pure white hair now. I almost walked past him yesterday.
Had a lot of nice things to say about Lance Armstrong. He said that Armstrong had ridden the race to perfection so far. Obviously not in great form during the Alps, but the fact that he hasn't attacked at all and he's still in the yellow jersey just goes to reflect that tactically he's done everything to perfection. He doesn't need to attack to win the race. It's the others who need to attack him if they want to win.
And they might yet. That should be 20 kilometres to go there, and that's what they were looking for. Yes, it is. We'll wait for a time check on that now. But this breakaway is still looking very, very good. Although the gap is coming down, is it coming down fast enough? You saw the British flag flying there. It was almost cross to tail at the moment, and that's going to help the breakaway, I would think, just now. Plenty of work being done, and as you can see, the riders going through, doing their turn on the front, swinging over to the right. They're riding in the direction of the wind, and there's one man here tried to slip away, and this will be Flecker, I think, Juan Antonio Flecker. I never saw him slip off the front.
I didn't see him slip off the front. He's a great bike rider, this man. Many people feel that he could be one of the new top Spanish riders as well. They need to get themselves organised quite quickly, Phil, if they want to pull this man back. He's 118th in the overall classification, a long way down at 1 hour and 21 minutes behind Lance Armstrong.
But the stage.
It's the stage which is so important to many of these riders, because it doesn't matter if you lose lots of time. If you can come out of the Tour de France with a stage victory on a single stage, it really is important. This is his first time at the Tour de France, by the way.
And he's looking over. They've got him. I think when we had that flurry of attacks, he was the last survivor, and our cameras fell back. They're not always allowed into the gaps, you see. The race referees, they're on radio, will move them on if they're starting to affect the formation of the race and the pattern of the race. And so he may be, they have to leave him going up front for that moment. But he's back in the group right now, and we are 19 kilometres to go now. So the pack works on, but I'm not too sure now at 2:22.
18 kilometres to go right now, and they've just managed to pull Flecker back into the fold. And looking down on the main field, they've still got a fair amount of anger in their legs, because they are still holding on to a 2-minute 16-second deficit on the leading group of 8 riders, and they want to bring it all back together towards the end, because this is probably the last chance the sprinters have of victory for about 5 days, because tomorrow's the individual time trial, and then after that it's 4 big days in the mountains, and the sprinters will only really hope to survive on days like that.
Really, so that's another 20 kilometres to go, Banner, now, so we'll get a time check on that very shortly, I would think, as the peloton continues to work using 3 teams here. 4 teams actually: Lotto, Telecom, Brioche La Boulangerie and Sidermac. There's the crosswind indicated by the Union flag, and the latest time check is 2 minutes 20. So they're not coming down that fast, Paul.
Those 8 riders at the front are 8 very strong bike riders. Men like Flecker, De Groot, of course Rogers and O'Grady are strong rouleurs. They call a rider who is a rouleur is a man capable of riding hard on the flat stages. And it really is pretty remarkable that these men are surviving. But we've had a lot of riders abandon the Tour de France so far, Phil.
Yeah, we have indeed, as we're down to 170 riders at the minute left in the race. 28 have left us now since the start. in what has been 12 days of racing. Latest time check now, they're saying, is 2 minutes and 15 seconds, but these boys are working as best as they can here, really putting his back into it. The Belgian rider there, Mario Ertz, in the service normally of Vinokurov, but now wants Eric Zabel to get up there.
It's not one specific team is on the front end of the main field doing the chasing. It's a mixture of teams right now, and in fact you can see that the team of Robbie McEwen have got 2 or 3 riders up there, as have the team of Damien Nazon, the French sprinter. His team is in the red and white jerseys, the Brioche Le Bourg-d'Oisans. I'm glad to see that Team Telecom have sent 1 or 2 riders forward, because I felt that today's stage was a stage ideally suited for Eric Zabel. After a lot of hard days in the mountains, Zabel is the man who seems to keep his speed exactly the same throughout the season and exactly the same throughout the Tour de France as well. And as everybody else begins to get fatigued, he seems to be able to retain that punch that you require to win a stage in the last part of the race.
Eric's a champion, there's no way he isn't. He's ridden the Tour de France 10 times and he's picked up 12 stages, but life in the breakaway is getting a little bit twitchy here now. The strong men, I thought it was Michael Rogers, Nicolas Portal on the front. Rogers is in 3rd place here. This is Flecker, the Spanish rider, in his first Tour, in 2nd. 1 or 2 riders in their first Tour de France here. Only one in this breakaway has won a road race stage, and that is Stuart O'Grady in Grenoble, I think it was. He's also been the yellow jersey wearer of the Tour on 2 different years and become very, very popular back home in South Australia because of it.
Also got very close to winning the green jersey competition, a competition that he actually lost on the last day of the Tour de France to Eric Zabel. Eric Zabel is in the main field right now. Stuart O'Grady's in the breakaway, but O'Grady has moved up into 5th place in the points competition this afternoon, while the main field, Phil, are not eating into that advantage very quickly. They've just chipped another 15 seconds away, but they may well not quite have it in their legs this afternoon, and the breakaway could possibly just survive.
Hello, I'm Bram de Groot, and you are watching the Tour de France on ITV.
If you smoke around children, they smoke too. Every year, thousands of children have to go to hospital because of breathing other people's cigarette smoke.
Thanks to Yes Car Credit, thousands of people who thought they'd never get credit to buy a better car are now enjoying that new car feeling. And with just one phone call, so could you. There are showrooms nationwide with a huge range of cars to choose from, and every car comes with a 125-point inspection for complete peace of mind. For your nearest Yes Car Credit showroom, simply call, click, or find us in the yellow pages.
Tease me, tease me, tease me, tease me, baby, till I lose control. Tease me with your love.
There are some great-looking sofas in the DFS sale. Want to see more? There are extra savings on many sale prices. Are you tempted? There's 3 years free credit and nothing to pay for the first year. All will be revealed at DFS. Extra savings in the DFS sale are now on.
Does your car insurance guarantee you a courtesy car? Check your policy, then just ask the AA for a quote on 0800 444 777.
Imagine clearing your debts or reducing your monthly bills. Imagine being able to borrow money at a really competitive interest rate. Well, now you can. Speak to Imagine Loans right now. Use the money to buy a car, for home improvements, or take a holiday and turn your dreams into reality. So why pay more? Contact Imagine Loans and discover how much you could save on your monthly repayments. Mrs. Solly was paying a combined amount of £588 a month. With one low-cost loan, she cleared her debts and now pays only £175 a month. Imagine Loans can lend you from £5,000 up to £250,000. Even if you think you don't qualify, no problem. Call Imagine Loans now. Our advice is free and you'll get a quick decision over the phone. Or visit imagineloans.co.uk and you'll see that we have loans to suit everyone. Imagine what you could do with the extra money. Call Imagine Loans on 0800 015 4646. That's 0800 015 4646. Call now.
Heard the news? With post office phone cards, the cost of calling India just got cheaper. Post office phone cards. What's your news?
Hola, soy Ángel Casero. Están ustedes mirando el Tour de Francia en ITV.
Welcome back. Now, before we rejoin the action, we're going to update you on the condition of Joseba Beloki, second in the race and challenging Lance Armstrong for the lead when he spectacularly crashed out on stage 9. Now, he arrived in his hometown of Vitoria in the Basque region of Spain 2 days ago, and yesterday he underwent a 4-hour operation. He had 3 breaks from the crash: his wrist, which is going to be left to heal on its own, his elbow, which had actually broken the skin and did need surgery, and his right femur, which was broken right up at about hip level, and that apparently needed a metal plate inserting into it. Well, the operation went well, and if his recovery does the same, he should be able to train again on rollers in about 3 weeks' time. As far as competition goes, though, his season is over. Now, very much still on is the race for the green jersey competition, mainly between 2 Aussies, Robbie McEwen, the defending champion, and the young pretender, Baden Cook. Now, Cook actually leads the competition at the moment by 9 points, but he reckons that it should be more, and we showed you why back on stage 10 before the rest day. He appealed against this sprint out on the road, one of the intermediate sprints, which he thought, and I have to agree with him, he took. He's on the right in the green jersey. However, the commissaires decided to give it to Robbie McEwen on the left, and they still gave it to Robbie McEwen on the left, even after he'd appealed. So that's gone. He still leads by 9 points. What he's saying now, though, is that he wants photo finish cameras of the kind that they've got at the end of the stage installed out on the road for all the intermediate sprints. And I'm sure the Tour will be happy to do it if he paid for them. Anyway, since all the sprints today have been mopped up by the breakaway, you can expect Robbie McEwen and Baden Cook to be sprinting it out in the bunch for the final points, which are at the finish line. However, they might be sprinting it out for 9th and 10th place, because the race approaches Toulouse. That 8-man breakaway is still out front.
There's the 15-kilometre banner that they have been waiting for. The gap coming inside of 2 minutes now to 1 minute 54 seconds. But these guys still, Phil, cannot start to play tactical games right now.
And this is attack now by Flecker again. Attack number 2 for him. He's got some speed, hasn't he?
Very complicated right now, because there are actually 8 different teams represented in this leading group, but the nationalities are slightly better spread. There are 3 Spaniards, and it's rather interesting to note that the attack coming from Juan Antonio Flecker here came from the counter-attack of a Spaniard, and it was set up by Idrisio Nozal of the Once squad. And I wonder if the Spaniards have talked together to try and get themselves into a situation where they can ride off the front. There are 2 Aussies in the group as well, O'Grady and Rogers, and if it does come down to a sprint towards the end, they may well find that they could help each other try and get a stage victory. But to do that, they actually have to catch this man right now.
Well, this is the one move that O'Grady would have feared, and he would have expected it would happen as well. And now they are starting to look at each other, look at them freewheeling up, and Da Cruz is quite happy because he knows Baden Cook is coming up as an attack goes through the inside. O'Grady's got to take it up himself now. There's nobody going to help him.
O'Grady's a marked man there. He was just getting ready for the counter-attack, and as soon as he started to accelerate, they were right onto his wheel.
That might be the 10-kilometre banner just there. I think it is. So that's 6 miles to the finish. And this, on a day like this, would be an amazing result for a Spanish rider, more likely to be seen in the mountains, winning what is a comparatively flat stage.
Well, a couple of years ago, the man who leads right now, Juan Antonio Flecker, was regarded as the next big Spanish hope with 5 wins, and here's a counter-attack coming from the back of the group here. It's like Rogers decided. In fact, the reason he was putting his hand up there, I think, was to pretend that he wants to go and talk to his team management, and then that put him at the rear of the field, and he's just attacked everybody with the attack from rear position. And he's got a good lead too. Somebody's gone with him.
Well, this is now the splitting of the breakaway. If they don't take up the race very quickly, the gaps will open. This is Dax again. He's a marking man now. He's not interested in getting this breakaway clear of the field because it's important the bunch catch up as far as he's concerned. The points are at stake for Baden Cook in that green jersey competition. Here we are now. The sun is high in the sky. Local time, it's approaching 5 o'clock here in Toulouse in the afternoon. Look at this, Flecker looking underneath his arm there. And now come a series of roundabouts. He knows now he's on the outskirts of Toulouse.
There's 20 seconds his advantage over the two chasers, and he has the ability to pick a very nice clean line around this roundabout. He's not losing any of his impetus at all. His 5 wins a couple of years ago were really why the Banesto team wanted him to come on board, because they saw him as being a huge star of the future. He's digging deep into his reserves right now. You see him accelerating nicely out of that corner, picking his pace back up to 48, 49 kilometers again. And the gap he has over the main field is still 1 minute and 35 seconds. They're pushing all the cars out of the gap right now because they know there's always the possibility that it'll all come back together inside of the last 5 kilometers of racing. It's 16 seconds back to the two chasers and 25 seconds back to the O'Grady group.
Good roads now, great run into Toulouse. We're not going into the big city because it's in turmoil. They're building a new metro line there, which is a subway, but they're coming out to the airport, a small airfield, at 5 kilometers to go. They're still chasing these 5. This could be, and now Rogers has got very annoyed there with Carlos de Cruz, who would not help him out in the break. De Cruz does not want to help anybody. We've seen it out on the course today. He packs a pretty good sprint finish as well, but he really wants the peloton to catch up and give Baden Cook a chance at scoring maximum points in that green jersey competition. Well, I don't think that's going to happen. 1:29 back to the field now, 7 chases 1.
Well, these guys need to get themselves organised because the lone leader is riding completely his own tempo, and he's not slowing down at all. It's a steady tempo that is not being affected by accelerations and decelerations.
Flecker is up in the distance there. He's looking for 3 kilometers to go as we make our way to the airport for the finish. 20 seconds. He's nudging out a little bit, but they brought it back. It was 25. The peloton are closing in. It's 1 minute 22 to the peloton. You know, the long straight runway, and if they go fast enough they could get liftoff, but that's where the finish is today, on the runway, and everybody now is waiting for the arrival of the Tour. This group here has torn each other apart, but they're not getting closer quick enough to one Antonio Flecker.
And once they start this tactical maneuvering right now, jumping across the road,
that's De Cruz.
This is a bad move.
Is it
De Cruz is on the right hand side,
no, it's not
and
De Cruz.
That, in fact, is the Francis the AG2R rider Nicolas Portal.
That's Portal, and I couldn't pot that jersey. Nicolas Portal has gone. He's riding his first Tour de France. He's never had a win in his life. He's had a bid, and now they're on him straight away. So there are 3 kilometers to go. I think that was 3 kilometers to go, Banner. And the peloton hovering now. 1:25, the latest check coming in from Radio Tour. Back together again. It's infighting now, Paul. All this is helping Flecker.
Well, these guys are just manoeuvring each other all the time. This is Nozal now trying to go. O'Grady's been caught out, and in fact that attack went straight by Stuart O'Grady on the right-hand side of the road. It looks as if nobody wants to collaborate with Stuart O'Grady because they know he's got a fine finishing sprint, and they know how dearly he wants to win here in the outskirts of Toulouse at this very famous aerodrome.
24 seconds. He's still nudging away, you see, because they're sprinting, marking, slowing down, sprinting, marking, slowing down. This man is keeping his speed up in the region of 28 miles an hour and not worried about what's going on behind. He's starting to dream of a win in the Tour de France at 2 kilometers to go. This will be the biggest moment of his career. We can expect a lot of punching of the sky if he gets there. He's not racing for the yellow jersey. He's racing for a stage win in the Tour at Toulouse. Not many Spanish win stages on the flat. Another attack has gone.
A couple of riders.
I think it's Bram de Groot who's gone down the road. Let's find out. Being chased there by Carlos de Cruz. It might be O'Grady. It's O'Grady. Oh, we're going further. This is still de Groot here on the attack.
This is Nozal.
It's a pink jersey, so it's Isidro Mazel. Now he's got a good turn of speed. O'Grady's so desperate now to get a result here. Has taken up the chase himself. Now this is a determined move.
a determined move. This man has sat at the back of the group on a number of occasions trying to just get a little bit of energy back into his body, and what he's trying to do now is bridge a 20-second gap inside of the last 20 seconds. Just caught a quick glimpse of the red cars in front. That is the car of the referee, who is right behind the lone leader Flecker for the moment. O'Grady is caught in no man's land. He will dig deep and try and get himself to the tail of the Spanish rider here and hope that he can still get himself a victory. There's O'Grady, slowly but surely nailing across that gap. A little bit further back, this is the man from AG2R. This is Nicolas Portal, who's in fourth position on the road. In fact, that's Cuesta, Inigo Cuesta. We're inside the last 1.5 kilometres, but I tell you what, the last kilometre is a long straight road into a headwind.
Yes, and this man has got to drive on now because the banners are in the distance. The breakaway is safe. They're not going to be caught by the big bunch in the Tour de France today. They are going to race out 9th place, I'm sure of that now. This man has 1,000 metres to go for what will not only be his biggest victory, but probably the biggest surprise for the Ibanesto team. It is a superb result here for Juan Antonio Flecker.
Still looking very good. You see him just looking underneath his arm there. He was looking to see if there were any shadows behind him. The red car is the referee's car. He looks back. He's a true professional. He wants to make sure that nobody's going to make a surprise comeback, and he's still got a lot of power in those legs, but he is worried about the return of the rest of the group behind him. He's still got 15 seconds advantage over Nozal, the Spanish chaser.
When is 1,000 metres longer than 1,000 metres? When you're riding the Tour de France and winning your own, but the peloton chasing you down, or a bunch of riders in this case. He is checking, because he's got no more speed left in those legs, and that banner, will it ever come towards him here? Because he wants a long time to enjoy himself. I feel pretty sure of that. This is a wonderful victory for Spain and for Juan Antonio Flecker. There's the bunch behind. They're still coming at him, but he's starting to smile. That is still Nozal, who's coming up behind there. I think he's going to hang on, but he still needs to do it. It is going to be a very, very difficult finish, as this is the moment of celebration, the biggest win of his life. He turned professional in the year 2000. Look at that. Straight as an arrow as Bram de Groot comes clear, third into Marseille. He's getting closer, second into Toulouse, ahead of Nozal. And then comes the race. For fourth. This will be the Cofidis rider, who is finishing, Inigo Cuesta. He's normally a climber as well. There's the pack coming at them. Da Cruz finishes off, taking on O'Grady. He's beat him every day, and it makes no difference. He's beat him again at the line. Now the lead-out men here, the boys in green, but here comes the white jersey of Bradley McGee. Now we're looking for the green jersey of, and it's on the far right of Baden Cook. He wants the 9th place finish for the big points, shoulder to shoulder with McEwen. These two riders, and McEwen got it this time. Revenge is sweet for Robbie McEwen. He pipped him on the line. The big three, Paul, because Zabel was right behind him, and they're in the pack, safe and sound. All of his 21 seconds now will go to the time trial tomorrow with Lance Armstrong, still the leader of the Tour.
Juan Antonio Flecker, though, is the winner of the stage, ahead of Bram de Groot and Isidro Nozal, with Stuart O'Grady a disappointing 6th on a day he must have fancied his chances. Flecker, as the linguists among you all know, is Spanish raro, and if he hadn't been concentrating on getting his celebration right, his winning margin would have been comfortably more than 4 seconds. The archery demonstration also meant that the main pack were only 42 seconds behind him in the end, with Robbie McEwen edging out Baden Cook for the 9th place and trimming Cook's lead in the green jersey competition by 1 point to 8. The most disappointed man of the day was Toulouse resident Stuart O'Grady, who seemed to be the victim of a conspiracy in the break, and his defeat capped a miserable day for Crédit Agricole, who lost 2 riders as well as the stage. Jens Voigt we saw abandon out on the road, while Stéphane Auger came in outside the time limit, along with Matthew Wilson of FDJeux.com. Tobias Steinhauser of Bianchi also abandoned, to bring the day's casualty list to 4. It was a big day for Spain, though, 2 days ahead of schedule. The Spanish flags will be out in the Pyrenees, and possibly now a couple of giant inflatable arrows. After he came off the podium, Juan Antonio Flecker stopped for a word.
Et je dédie ma victoire à toute mon équipe, parce que ça c'est mon première victoire du Banesto dans cette équipe, et je dédie ça à tout le monde de mon équipe, à Masajo, à tous. C'était incroyable parce que mon copine travaille ici, à Toulouse, et bon, C'est la victoire plus belle de ma vie. C'est ma marque pour les victoires. J'ai fait 2 fois, ça c'est la 3e. Et je crois que pour le Tour de centenaire, je devrais faire ça.
What a nice thought. Certainly Lance Armstrong will have appreciated Juan Antonio taking the strain for a day as he and the other contenders rested their legs for tomorrow's time trial, because his win leaves the top of the classification completely untouched. Which is more than could be said for the race leader once Arnold Schwarzenegger had got hold of him. Arnie up on the top step of the podium, milking the applause like an old pro. All right, before we go, your daily chance to enter our weekly competition. Does that make sense? I'm not sure. Anyway, if you want to win a Trek road bike, pay attention. Our question this week concerns the jersey worn by the leader of the points competition in the Tour. We want to know what colour it is, and here are your choices. A, yellow, B, white, or C, green. 09001 22 9922 is the number to call. Lines are open until midnight on Saturday. And here's a reminder of the prizes you can win. A superb Trek racing bike for the first correct answer out of the computer-generated hat. And for 5 runners-up, copies of the official Tour de France Centennial book, which tells the story of the race year by year. Now then, Lance Armstrong is leading this race without having won a single stage so far, and I'm sure that rankles with him because it's just not his style. Well, tomorrow he gets a chance to rectify that situation. It's the first long individual time trial of the Tour so far, and Armstrong has won at least 1 time trial in each of his 4 Tour victories. He'll have competition, though, from the likes of Jan Ullrich and from David Miller. David's going well at the moment, and he fancies his chances tomorrow, so it should be a great day's racing. As usual, you'll be able to see all the action that matters on ITV2 from 7 p.m, with those highlights repeated late night on ITV1. From Toulouse, though, goodbye.
To a third off selected cycle carriers and roof boxes. Full suspension bikes from £79.99. With our deals you pay peanuts, so we thought we'd give you monkeys. Halfords, driving down prices.
Hi, this is Tyler Hamilton and you're watching the Tour on ITV.
Well, in today's race, the high-tech boys have their fun and games again, but it hasn't always been this way. In fact, not so long ago, you rode the time trial on your regular road bike. Sustaining the high speeds which time trialling demands is all about aerodynamics, and it was Jacques Anquetil in the early 1960s who perfected the tucked-in riding position. In the Eno era, carbon fibre broke the mould and helped bike manufacturers to develop lightweight teardropped profile tubing. But it was Greg LeMond in 1989 who first brought handlebar extensions to the Tour alongside aerodynamic helmets, which were becoming common. In 1994, Chris Boardman's revolutionary and record-breaking bike inspired imitations like Miguel Indurain's Espada, but these designs were later outlawed. Which brings us to the 21st century and Lance Armstrong's state-of-the-art time trial bike. 2 gears at the front, 9 at the back, giving him a combination of 18 gears and a monster 55-tooth chainring. Now, the whole thing weighs an unbelievable 8 kilograms. Now, that is seriously light. It's been tested in wind tunnels for the optimum aerodynamics, but, as Lance Armstrong would say, it's not just about the bike. Believe me, he will have prepared for today's time trial in immense detail. He will have traced out on his bike every single kilometre of today's route and planned at any given moment the optimum combination of heart rate, cadence, that's cycling's version of revs, and power, so that he can squeeze the last ounce of efficiency out of his bike.
Well, out on the road, Armstrong still has to go through the first checkpoint at 13 kilometres, where Jan Ullrich has set what is currently the best time.
Look at this, Ullrich is about to catch the man who started in front of him, and the man who started in front of him was no other than Ivan Basso. Now watch the difference in the speed. I was a bit worried there. I thought he was going to try and go up the inside as he catches Basso. Basso was 11th overall in the Tour de France last year, and Jan Ullrich has caught him after 20 kilometres of racing. racing, he's taken back 1 minute for every 10 kilometres. That's quite remarkable.
And the situation at that 13 kilometres is Miller is equal time now with Vinokourov.
Well, that is an unbelievable reference. The two riders locked together. If this man is only losing 19 seconds to Ulrich, but putting in the same performance as David Miller, it just goes to show that he's got great form. And it looked to me there, just a quick glimpse we got of him, as if he was having a bit of difficulty on the false flat.
Well, we're waiting to see the big man arrive at that first check at the moment. This is Ivan Parra here and Laurent Dufaux. These two riders heading up towards the, I'm not sure where they are. We're coming to the finish here now as Parra races up the line here. So this has been a very good ride. As Parra comes in now, confirming his 6th place. He's caught Laurent Dufaux for 2 minutes, and so that's an extremely good ride by Parra. He says he's got the best form ever, and he tried to win the stage into Gap, and it didn't quite work out for him. But he's showing that he really has got good condition. 10th for Parra on the line. 2 minutes slower will be the time for Dufaux. The crowd has stood here all day since 10 o'clock this morning watching for the riders. It is now 4:30 in the afternoon here. They've had a full day of it, all to see this man. And he keeps on getting out of the saddle, and he's gone through the check, but he's on the same time. 10ths of a second only. They put Armstrong in 2nd place by a fraction of a second. Lance Armstrong still the leader of the Tour. He's now stretching his lead out to 40 seconds. This is based on the time gains on the road at the moment. Ivan Mayer would be still 3rd, but 2 minutes and 4 seconds back if we were to stop the race right now.
But we're not going to. We've still got 25 kilometres to go to the finish line, and Armstrong has the advantage here, starting last in the overall classification, last in the time trial, I should say, Phil, because he will know the times that are being set out on the course. And he's never really completely dominated the first time trial throughout his performances at the Tour de France. He's surrounded here by an armada of photographers, from the live television cameras to the still cameramen, who want to get a shot of the man who wears the yellow jersey.
This rider, though, Jan Ullrich, you know, he could be climbing up to 2nd place overall in the race today. I don't think he's going to rival Lance Armstrong, of course, but he's picking up riders, and they're falling like flies ahead of him. Jan Ullrich has caught Ivan Basso, and I think Roberto Heras is probably the rider in front of him at the moment. Alexander Vinokourov here is riding 2nd out of the blocks, as we know that Vinokourov has never been a regular competitor against the likes of Lance Armstrong. He's always lost pretty much big time. The best time he's ever finished close to Lance, he was 9th back in 2001 over 61 kilometres. Other than that, but then again, you have to remember, he wasn't racing in 2nd place in the Tour de France then, when you ride a totally different time trial.
Completely different when you're riding to finish high in the overall classification. And Mr. Jan Ullrich right now has just blown by Roberto Heras. Roberto Heras, wearing number 2 there, started 4 minutes ahead of the German. Jan Ullrich is definitely back.
Here's David Miller now. But this will be a 2nd place finish for David Miller at the moment, as he comes in to end the 47 kilometres. Long way home, as always. Our camera brings him home, and he's lost a lot of time in the hills towards the end. 1:2:27 for David Miller.
Well, look at this, though. Heimar Zubeldia. Now, he's looking at the fastest time, and he's got the fastest time at 33 kilometres covered. This is the man who created a bit of a surprise by finishing 3rd in the opening day prologue. Now, to ride at this longer distance is a massive surprise to me, and maybe not to the Spanish commentators, who don't seem to be getting too excited about this at all. But I have to say, that is a remarkable performance, beating Uwe Peschel at that point by 7 seconds, as we go further back down the road to see the position of Lance Armstrong starting last. We can see the position of Armstrong still looking good, still looking powerful, still ticking those legs over with the accuracy of a metronome. Zubeldia himself is about to catch the man who started in front of him, and that is a surprise, because I would expect that to be Denny Menshov, the young rider from Ivanesto.com, who has been the leader in the Best Young Rider competition.
Well, it looks like a white jersey, and if it is, it's a 2-minute bridge, and that is telling us that Zubeldia is getting quicker as this race gets longer. Well, the battle is still between the men at the end of the start house today. Alexander Vinokourov was second overall, still is second overall, but he could concede that to Jan Ullrich. We're waiting now for the arrival at Ullrich at 33.5 kilometres. And Alexander Vinokourov is holding off, remember, fancy starting and having a rider like Lance Armstrong chasing you just 2 minutes back. It's a sobering thought. Here is Ullrich now heading up to the check at 33.5 kilometres. Zubeldia has set the best time here at the moment of 42 minutes and 20 seconds.
Yeah, but Jan Ullrich was 26 seconds faster at the first time check, just 13 kilometres into the race. Ullrich started a minute 59 seconds behind Vinokourov in second place and 2 minutes 10 seconds behind Lance Armstrong. And look at this as he comes up there. The time to beat is 42.20. Well, he's a long way inside that.
Ouch. This is going to be very difficult. Zubeldia is done 42.20. Armstrong has eaten him on the road here. Unbelievable. This is an incredible performance by, I beg your pardon, Jan Ullrich has eaten him, and he goes through with a new standard set there, Paul. 40.28. Unbelievable ride there for Jan Ullrich. Now, has Lance Armstrong kept up a similar tempo?
Well, David Miller, of course, is already in. He started out at a blazing speed, but petered out towards the end, and now he's caught his breath. He's talking to Ned.
No, I've been sick since the rest day, so kind of normal. I just couldn't breathe. Went off good, but after 15-20 Ks, just my glands all went up. I couldn't breathe, so a bit screwed.
How much of a factor was the heat as well today, David, if you weren't feeling well?
Don't know, I guess it was hot, but that was the least of my mind. Couldn't breathe.
Hi, I'm Vyacheslav Ekimov. You're watching Tour de France on ITV.
So, see you next week, yeah? Oh, and you'll marry me, right?
This is a man's world. This is a man's world.
The Ford Focus.
But it would be nothing.
Built to take control.
Without a woman or a girl.
Humans sometimes like just to sit and do nothing. But that's not always the best policy. Because if you dig out your tax return and send it to the Inland Revenue by September the 30th, they'll work out the tax calculation for you. So then you can do something a little more exciting.
Self-assessment. Tax doesn't have to be taxing.
Be my guest, 1, 2, 3. Girls, girls on the scene, in the street, in the sea. Girls, girls, now you know you like me.
Men's sweat only attracts other men. Is that all you want? New Lynx Dry Antiperspirant. Avoid sweat. Attract women.
Thanks to Yes Car Credit, thousands of people who thought they'd never get credit to buy a better car are now enjoying that new car feeling. And with just one phone call, so could you. You'll not only find a car to be proud of, you'll also find repayments tailored to suit your budget. And every car comes with a 125-point inspection and AA vehicle membership for complete peace of mind. You can even use your old car as full deposit, whatever its age or condition, and drive away the very same day in something that'll put a smile on everyone's face.
I'm like a child with a brand new toy, and I get
So whatever your credit history, whatever your budget, you could join the thousands of people who are already enjoying that new car feeling. For your nearest showroom, call free on 0800 085 6600. Click on yescarcredit.net or find us in the yellow pages. We're waiting to say yes.
Norwich Union Direct? Yeah, that's right. My car. I'm told you can quote me happy. Happy, happy, happy. Happiness is what I want. Yeah, it's a hatchback. Okay? Yeah, I'm ready. Quote me happy.
I think she's happy.
I think so too.
Let Norwich Union Direct put a smile on your face. Call 0800 828 829 and let us quote you happy.
How are things up at the big house, miss?
They're rattling along, Parks.
Like my tractor.
Sorry?
Rattling along.
Quite.
Like to do new bacon flavour pot noodle, miss? The sizzler.
Parks!
It's oinking lovely.
Strange that something so grubby should be so delicious. But now, I'm going to have you shot, Parks, for pot noodling a lady.
New bacon flavour sizzler.
Hola, soy Marco Belia y ustedes están viendo el Tour de Francia en ITV.
Well, long-time race leader Uwe Peschel may not be a household name in cycling. In fact, you could be forgiven for not knowing exactly who he is. But here he is. Uwe, that was a fantastic time, you said.
Yeah, it looked like it was a very difficult race, and the time is going better by better. Before, I think that a lot of riders will break the time, but now it's not so much.
It's getting very tight for you now, isn't it? There's a lot of big names out on the course.
Yes, it's giving me a good feeling.
Have you ever experienced a big day like this before in cycling?
Yeah, I have a lot of good days in cycling before. I was Olympic champion in '92, and then I have 7 or 8 World Championships where I start and have medals. So it's a nice day, but it's not the highest point of my career.
Okay, and the last question, Uwe, is your time going to be the best at the end of the day? Can you do it?
I think there are 2 really good competitors coming now, Armstrong and Ulrich, and I think that 2 will break my time, and maybe other ones also.
Well, as I say, only time will tell.
Well, Uwe Peschel is still the leader in the clubhouse, but it's Jan Ullrich who's setting all the best times out on the course, and there's now only one man left to go through the second checkpoint at 33 kilometres, and that's the race leader.
Lance Armstrong is losing to Jan Ullrich as he comes through the checkpoint here, 33.5 kilometres. Armstrong is going to go through in second best time for sure. Now, how wise was he, Paul, to get rid of Ullrich on Alpe d'Huez? Because it could mean the difference today between seeing his yellow jersey go to the German and not. Armstrong coming up to the line. The time of Vinokurov is 41.30. Lance is going to beat that. 41.08.
48.8 kilometres an hour. He's lost 39 seconds over Jan Ullrich at the moment. And we discussed the tactics on the day to the Alpe d'Huez when Armstrong used his team to take up the pace on the slopes of the Col du Galibier and then accelerated rapidly at the start of the Alpe d'Huez. The reason was one, to get rid of this man. This was the man he's feared more than anybody else in the Tour de France. Jan Ullrich is an unbelievable individual time trialist. He might be a bit limited in the mountains, but he'll gain confidence with this ride.
Christophe Moreau coming home then, and he is riding home at the moment to about the 7th or 8th position, but he'll drop out the top 10 when the riders behind him start to arrive. That is for sure. Christophe Moreau, though, will maintain his challenge from the seat of being the best Frenchman, 8th at the minute. Well, Jan Ullrich at the 33.5 kilometre point. They're all through now. Leads Lance Armstrong by 40 seconds and Vinokurov by just over a minute. There'll be no change in the overall classification yet, but it won't be much longer before there is.
Aymar Zubeldia is battling right now to keep himself up at the top end of the overall classification. At that second time check, he was in 5th position, which I think is a pretty impressive ride by this man. He could be the leader of Euskaltel Euskadi by the end of the day. Here is the Flamme Rouge, the red kite, indicating he's inside the finishing straights right now, and he'll be looking at recording a top 5 ride, which for him is phenomenal.
And when he gets to the line, he'll be in the number 1 slot here. Zubeldia has had a marvellous day out, and he can climb. So everybody's going to worry about this performance here. At 41.5 kilometres, though, Ullrich has arrived there now. 2:19 quicker than Zubeldia. That is sensational, but this man will not be denied fastest for the moment at the finishing line as he comes into the Allée Laurent Jalabert. The face of Zubeldia, the man that we didn't really ever dream of talking about until he did that wonderful time trial on day one, the prologue in Paris. And he's still riding at the top of his form here, Paul, and this is going to be best for the moment.
It's going to be the best time right now, but there are some faster times than his out of the intermediary checks. But this is a great reference for this young man. The time he is going to beat is that of Uwe Peschel. When he crosses the line, the time will be the best one. Still riding up to the line. It's an awful long way when you come into that final corner. He will be able to see on the finishing line the digital clock indicating the time that he has to beat. The one underneath is his own time, and he will realize that he's put in a sterling performance today. New best time for Haimar Zubeldia, 101.12.31. Tyler Hamilton, by the way, has gone through the 41.5 kilometer time check with the third fastest time, 2 minutes 21 seconds in arrears of Jan Ullrich. Ullrich is digging so deep right now. This is a very vicious position he has as well. He's got his hands right down in the front of his machine. They're getting as low as possible. This man came up through the East German cycling school in Eastern Berlin, and then once the walls came down, he has turned out to be one of the best cyclists Germany has ever had to offer. And we must never forget that this man has never finished lower than second overall in the Tour de France, and of course one of those occasions was a team victory as well.
Hamilton losing a bit of ground there, by the way, to Zubeldia. Was ahead of him, has now slipped 2 seconds behind him, but this is the big finish now of Jan Ullrich. And now have we got a man who can take on Lance Armstrong in the Pyrenees? He's certainly done it in the time trial. This is an absolutely incredible ride. We have ridden 47 kilometers, almost 30 miles, and over terrain that you really wouldn't ride without getting out of the saddle, and this man is going to break the hour. Jan Ullrich comes to the line inside 1 hour for 47 kilometers. Look at his face. This has been a special day out for Jan Ullrich. He's won 4 time trial stages of the Tour de France in his career. This could be his 5th. Ullrich drives up the straight here now. He's going to beat the hour. 58:32.92. Now, Lance, it's all up to you.
48.18 kilometers now. He didn't finish inside the hour. He smashed it inside the hour. 1.5 minutes inside the 1 hour, and a huge beating of Haimar Zubeldia. 2 minutes 39 seconds into the second place rider, and the man who led from the start, Uwe Peschel, was looking like a man likely to win, is 3 minutes 25 seconds down at 47 kilometers covered. There are not many riders out on the course right now. Tyler Hamilton is looking pretty good out at the third and final check on the road. He had the third best time, but the crowd here, Phil, are getting behind Lance Armstrong in this year's Tour de France, because he is now no longer the superhuman Lance Armstrong. He is showing that he's fallible, and I think they actually want him to win the Tour de France for the 5th time.
Well, now Ullrich is in. Lance has got to arrive better than 10 minutes to beat Jan Ullrich, because that's how far it was out of the start house behind Jan Ullrich. Look at this massive crowd, this rather horrible little climb that comes just before the finish as Armstrong dances up here. The next man to finish will be Tyler Hamilton, and he's going to really have to turn on the style now, because he is having a great battle with Haimar Zubeldia. They were 2 seconds apart at the check with just 3 miles or just over 5 kilometers to go. We're out on the course now. This man must have been so frightened here. They're on the same climb, I think. Alexander Vinokurov has been chased all of the way by Lance Armstrong, who started 2 minutes behind him. This is a long climb, but they are both on the same climb.
Well, this is the difficult climb that comes in with about 8 kilometers to go, and I wonder whether or not Vinokurov started just a little bit too quickly. He went through the first time check in 4th position. He moved up to 3rd place at the second time check, but we're now waiting to see what he will approach the final time check of the day at, because Armstrong is just riding along here. He knows the times of the men who finished in front of him. He will have already calculated he has to finish inside of 1 hour and 42 seconds to keep the yellow jersey on his shoulders. He started the day 2 minutes and 10 seconds ahead of Jan Ullrich in the overall classification, but he now knows the man he feared to be his greatest challenger is back at the top. And here's Tyler Hamilton right now, 4th at the final time check out on the road, but right now he's looking to keep himself well up in the top 10, and he's finished very fast as well. He's going to be outside the hour though, but still this is a great ride by the man from the United States.
It certainly is, because he was yo-yoing with Zubeldia, and he might well have taken him here with a fine effort. 2 seconds behind him at the last check. It's been a tough ride up and down with Zubeldia. with Hamilton putting in a big ride for home here. He's risen to the occasion, that's for sure. He's got third place. He's just slipped behind at the last minute, 1:1.15.
These times are remarkable, but look at the speeds as well. 46 kilometers an hour for Tyler Hamilton. This man said he wanted to stay in the Tour de France to help his teammate Carlos Sastre, but right now he's #1 on the team. But he's not #1 in the overall standings, because that, at the end of the day, is almost certainly going to remain on the shoulders of Lance Armstrong. But what a great ride and what a great return to the top by Jan Ullrich. Armstrong has gone through there, Phil, and a remarkable time gap already. He's 1 minute and 9 seconds behind Jan Ullrich at 41.5 kilometers covered.
Well, we better start looking at the overall situation now, because let us not forget that Jan Ullrich was 2 minutes and 10 seconds behind, and Lance Armstrong has now lost 1 minute and 9. It's going to be very, very close. And you know, the 21-second that Vinokourov had at the start, there could be still a 21-second gap, and it could be Jan Ullrich there now. And Alexander Vinokourov raced his heart out today. He is not out of this Tour de France either for a place on the podium in Paris. He's in the streets now of the Carmeaux is where the town is. We're racing out to the mine on the outside, an open cast mine of Cap Découverte.
Well, he's outside now the finishing time of Jan Ullrich, which is 58.32 on the line, and he's been in the saddle for 58.32, and he still hasn't come to the final kilometre banner, and his time is going to be, I would expect, around about the same sort of time as Tyler Hamilton, 1 minute and 1 second when he gets down to the line.
We have to remember that less than 40 seconds is all that Lance Armstrong has recovered from Alexander Vinokourov, and that tells us that Lance isn't riding as well as he usually does. Here is the rider of Mancebo coming in. He's still right up there in single figures for the ride for the day, and this is a good climber, remember, as we go into the Pyrenees. These aren't the usual Pyrenees on this year's Tour de France. We are there for 4 days. These are real tough climbs ahead. For strong men, they will have a field day in the Tour de France. This has been an incredible race this year, thanks to the riding of about 6 riders.
It's been an incredible race, and it will continue to be an incredible race, because we're facing up now to 4 very difficult days in the mountains. The Spanish will go ballistic when we get down to the Pyrenees, because it is right on the border of their country, and this man will be fairly pleased with this ride. But look at the time that he's lost. That's almost 5 minutes on the line for Francisco Mancebo.
Swinging in towards the finishing straight, he was closing in all the time on Mancebo, and remember that Vinokourov also caught the rider who went off ahead of him, Iban Mayo, and this is really a tight finish for Alexander Vinokourov. He has had one of the rides of his life here. He's not going to win. He probably is just going to sneak into top 3 if he can sprint. At the moment, in 3rd place is Hamilton with 1:1.15, and he's going to beat that. This has been an outstanding ride here by Alexander Vinokourov. He is going to stay a challenger in the Tour de France. Hats off to him. To have Armstrong behind you and the crowd looking at you in 2nd place, he has pulled off one of the greatest time trials he's ever done, and it's going to stay 2nd at the moment and will probably be good enough to take 3rd on the day. Listen to the crowd, look at his face, 1:00:38.
We're now looking at Iban Mayo coming up to the line. Let's not forget Iban Mayo started ahead of Alexander Vinokourov. He is losing quite a fair amount of time on the roads of this 47-kilometre time trial today, but he will be pleased tomorrow, because we're going into the big mountains, the mountains of the Pyrenees, which this team will certainly adopt as their own.
Iban Mayo comes up to the line now. He's conceding time almost, well, just on 3 minutes he's conceding to Vinokourov. Remember that Vinokourov caught him for 2, and he's now conceding almost another 1.5 here as he races up to the line. So Mayo, not noted as a time trialist, but he is great in the mountains, and he crosses the line 11th.
Good ride. Here's Armstrong right now. He was on the tailcoats of Iban Mayo. He's accelerated towards the finishing line. He's not going to beat Jan Ullrich. Look at the time, 58.32. Armstrong is well outside of that. But you know what, Phil? This is not a man who is weak. This is not a man who is giving up, but he's actually fighting to keep himself in the yellow jersey. He will do that without too much of a problem. But Jan Ullrich is going to be within 1 minute of Lance Armstrong in the overall classification tonight.
But nobody has broken the hour except Jan Ullrich for the ride today. Armstrong has made a race of this. It's been a huge struggle for him. 1 hour and 8 seconds as Lance Armstrong crosses the line. He will keep his leader's yellow jersey, but he is yet again reminded he is in the toughest scrap of any Tour de France he has ever won.
not to mention the most exciting that many of us have ever seen. Only Lance Armstrong's second defeat in 8 long time trials. The other was by 11 seconds. Today, Jan Ullrich was a minute 36 faster than the defending champion, with Alexander Vinokourov turning in a brilliant ride himself to place third, ahead of Aymar Zubeldia, Tyler Hamilton, the early leader Uwe Peschel, and David Miller. Well, he's beaten Armstrong to the first stage win of this year's Tour. Can he use that as a springboard to beat him overall? Afterwards, Jan Ullrich was weighing his words.
Ein Sieg ist immer gut und ich bin hergekommen, um eine gute Tour zu fahren, und jetzt habe ich meinen Etappensieg. Und ich habe im Zeitfahren noch nie Lance Armstrong geschlagen bei der Tour. Und jetzt in meinem Comeback-Jahr, wo ich eigentlich als Vorbereitung machen wollte für nächstes Jahr, gelingt es mir, und das war einfach, also ich bin sprachlos. Morgen fangen die Pyrenäen an. Ich denke mal, Pyrenäen ist das Highlight der Tour, weil es einfach so schwer ist. 4 Tage, ganz schwer. Und jetzt genieße ich erstmal heute, denke noch gar nicht an morgen, weil ja, es ist alles möglich. Dieses Jahr ist alles möglich.
So here's what today has done to the overall standings. Ullrich up into second place, 34 seconds behind Armstrong. Vinokourov fighting his bike to the finish to limit his losses, 51 seconds down. Then it's Tyler Hamilton, now fourth with a broken collarbone, and Aymar Zubeldia tied with his teammate Ivan Mayo at 4 minutes 29 off the race lead, just ahead of another Spanish climber, Francisco Mancebo. And they will all be lining up to attack the man in the yellow jersey as the race heads into the mountains, what is effectively Spanish territory as far as the race is concerned. Lance Armstrong's chief concern, though, will be the German in second place. Here he is with Ned.
With the GC looking the way it is now, do you feel the need now to attack Ullrich in the mountains?
We'll have to see. That depends on how I feel and how he looks and how the race goes.
Okay, was it a bit of surprise that perhaps he performed so well on the time trial?
No, I mean, Jan's a specialist for that, and it shouldn't surprise anybody that he won. I mean, maybe surprise the time difference, but he had a great race.
Well, 2 years ago at Les Ardiden, Jan Ullrich conceded the Tour to Lance Armstrong with a touch of the hand. And as fate and the route planners would have it, the Tour returns to that very climb on Monday. Today, it was a nod of acknowledgement from Ullrich and a pat on the back from Armstrong. 2 fighters touching gloves before tomorrow's bell. Now then, if you've been inspired by today's action, we might be able to provide you with a pair of wheels if you're lucky. You'll have to buy your own helmet, mind. It's your chance to win a bike in our weekly competition. Our question this week concerns the
Sunday's news of the world. I can't wait to get my hands on one.
Bonjour, je suis Thomas Vauclair et vous regardez le Tour de France sur ITV.
As you may be aware, the French have not celebrated a Tour de France winner for 18 years. But that's not to say that they haven't had their heroes during that time, and there's none bigger than Laurent Jalabert, known to a devoted nation simply as Jaja. Many will remember the terrible fall in 1994, which left him badly injured, but he bounced back from that to embark on an extremely successful career. Winner of the green jersey in 92 and 95, the King of the Mountains in 2001 and 2002, and 4 times he wore the yellow jersey. Well, this is his first year out of the saddle, although he's still following the Tour, albeit on the back of a motorbike working as a reporter for French TV. Earlier on, we caught up with Jaja and asked him to reflect on some of the highlights of his eventful career.
Je pense que le premier, c'est ma première victoire d'étape sur le Tour de France à Bruxelles en 1992, sous la pluie. Le deuxième moment important, c'est la victoire d'étape également à Mende le 14 juillet en 1995. Une très grande journée, une belle échappée. C'est surtout celui dont tout le monde se rappelle. Et le troisième moment important, c'est la traversée de la montagne l'année passée, en 2002. Mais surtout le podium sur les Champs-Élysées où je suis monté avec mes enfants pour mon adieu au Tour de France. C'est un tournant dans ma carrière, mais c'est pas un moment important pour moi. C'est un mauvais souvenir, tout simplement.
Well, Laurent Jalabert won the King of the Mountains in his last 2 Tours de France, but I don't think he'd be able to live with today's pace. Going on to the final climb, 3 Spaniards are still out front. Carlos Sastre of CSC, Juan Miguel Mercado of Ibernesto.com, and Lance Armstrong's US Postal teammate Jose Luis Rubiera. They've got 8 kilometres left to climb. About a kilometre behind them is the group containing Armstrong, Ulrich and all the main contenders. And in between, trying to bridge the gap, is Laurent Dufaux.
Ras is starting to go here. Now, he's been hovering off the back. This has got to be 100% effort and then move over.
This is not. This is 110% for Roberto Heras. He's had an unbelievably difficult time this afternoon. He's been off the back on several occasions, and Armstrong has asked him to come forward. He will give everything that he can. This man is lying in 11th place in the overall classification, and the first acceleration has said goodbye to Georg Tocznik, the Austrian champion. It's also said goodbye to the two Jean de la Tour riders. That's Patrice Algon going out at the back there, and the other rider is Stéphane Hubert. Also, the champion of France has popped because of the pressure.
Sastre goes here, so Rubiera has a problem further up.
Well, Sastre has really dug in deep. The man trying to get across him is Mancebo from Ibanesto.com. These guys are looking at 8 kilometres to go to the summit. In fact, the official time difference is 6.9, which is a bit of a surprise. They've gone up 2 kilometres very quickly indeed. Rubiera right now just riding his tempo, but as soon as he gets caught by the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong and Roberto Heras, he will find a new lease of life. He will dig deep to try and help his teammate. It's looking like an all-Spanish finale today.
And it looks as though Laurent Dufaux may have cracked too. He's gone back to almost a minute here with the accelerations of the leading group. Sastre has really looked good today. He came across to the leaders so well, did most of the work, and now he's put them both in trouble behind. So Mercado is being dropped as well, and Carlos Sastre doing the team lead here. The world of good, because if he wins the stage, they're going to move up nicely in the team. Now another attack, and this time it's coming from, I think it's Patrice Algon.
Well, I can't believe that. He was dropped a few moments ago, and as soon as he saw the slowing down of the yellow jersey group, he came straight by them.
Well, you never know. These boys just will not give up. They reach the limit of their ability, they lose contact, they find the field slows down, they rejoin, and they don't say, oh, thank heavens, I'm back with the leaders. They go and hit them and attack. Well, Carlos Sastre, no wins at all, but he had a very good 6th place in the Tour of Romandy. He's now 28 years of age, but a very, very strong all-round bike rider. But he doesn't win many races. He only won one, in fact, in his career, but I think now he might be heading to what will be a glowing victory, because it looks to me as though Mercado here has now found the pressure just a little bit too much. The big select group of 14, sorry, Mancebo, I think I said Mercado, looking at this little group here, it is thinning out. But you know, Richard Virenque at the back, who was in trouble on the past climb, is now seemingly okay on this climb.
I'm pretty impressed with Richard Virenque, because he's done well to stay with this group. He's a man in the latter part of his career. He's the leader of the King of the Mountains competition. He really dug deep to get himself points on the summit there of the Côte de Paillere, and right now he's in with the top men in the Tour de France. It looks like Algon is about to get picked up, and it's amazing how Roberto Heras has dug deep. He's found something very special here to just keep setting the pacemaking for his team leader Lance Armstrong. Algon is back in the fold, and he will pretty soon get ejected from the rear of this very select group.
It's a long, hard road ahead to Paris. There's no doubt about that. This is Laurent Dufaux. I thought he was going to sweep them up, and he's now started to suffer. The flurry of attacks by the leaders has really hurt him. He's fallen back quite a ways, over a minute behind now. He is still about 45 seconds ahead, though, of the Armstrong group. So he's still riding along in 4th place. This is Carlos Sastre here, and still looking like a winner. He's looking for the 5 kilometre banner first.
Oh, there's a problem there. Heras.
Oh, those legs have gone. Those legs have gone. Oh, Roberto Heras, his legs suddenly said, ouch, the cramps have come. This is Algon climbing past him now. Heras takes a good look at him. He's just going to have to struggle home now. The engine's gone.
It just goes to show you how far into their reserves these guys can push themselves for their leader. This is Carlos Sastre at the front of the bike race, while his teammate Tyler Hamilton is going off the back end of the group of the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong.
But it looks as though Zubeldia is in trouble here. No, it's Mayo. Mayo has lost ground now. He is also cracking. Well, he's not supposed to do this on his favourite terrain, but he has tried a couple of big attacks, and now it looks as though he's cracked himself.
Well, this is one thing that Pedro Delgado said to me about Iban Mayo. He's a superbly talented bike rider, but one day or another, he always has an off day, and this could be the off day for Mayo right now.
Well, the big problem too are the running people now, because they don't look over the shoulder. They get in the way of the riders and the upcoming cars. But just look at this now. Remember at the start today, less than a minute covered the top 3 riders. Well, a blanket could go over the 3 of them right now, because they are riding the mountain together. Hamilton is the one struggling a little bit and losing time on Zubeldia, because Zubeldia is still here off to the right of our picture.
Zubeldia looks good. Vinokurov, though, he's just sitting there watching what's going on.
I think he looked to steal seconds.
He will try and jump away towards the summit of the climb, but Armstrong is looking attentive. He's got a great teammate up alongside him, Chechu Rubiera. Ulrich also is looking quite nervous. He keeps looking around to see who is in the group. Ivan Basso is the man at the back there in the white jersey with the blue bands on it. Dufaux is currently in 3rd place on the road.
Not anymore, Paul. Not anymore, because here they come. 6 of the best right going past Laurent Dufaux. Well, I take my hat off to the tactics of US Postal. They put Rubiera up front. He has been their last post down here, the last man to hold Armstrong, and he's been out front since the 22nd kilometre. And this is Carlos Sastre here. It's hard now, it is so steep just before the end, and it's only 9 kilometres, but it must seem like 100 right now. He's around about 4 kilometres to go.
In between, there's still Mercado. This is a return now. Iban Mayo went through a very difficult moment. The race has levelled off slightly. It's easy to say it's levelled off sitting here in a commentary position, but the tempo has slowed down somewhat. Armstrong is keeping a very close eye on Jan Ullrich. Ullrich moving across to the left-hand side of the road. They wants to see what the faces are like on the other riders in the group.
Fit man there, that steer on the left-hand side there, flying the flag for the Texan, Armstrong, who has had, I think, a very tough day, but he's been up to it. He has marshalled his troops. He has had a brilliant day in the Alps. They've tried to attack him, and they have not been able to. At 4 kilometres to go, Chechu Rubiera, and again Armstrong, the first person he's going to thank will be Beltran, and then he will thank Rubiera, because they've ridden so well today. This is still the man hanging on, but I'm not sure how far ahead he is. I don't think he is that far, Paul. Any time checks? No. The computer just gives us a question mark when we want to know the answers. But Carlos Sastre is now heading up to the finish, but I think the field, that select little group of 7 men, is probably around a minute and a half back.
They're a long way down. This man, if he doesn't crack, he should ride away with the win. But this man, Mercado, is around about 35 seconds in arrears, and he's losing a lot of his impetus right now. Sastre is going to walk away with the victory at the summit of this climb, because behind, the big challengers are still watching each other. I'm surprised to see that the attack hasn't come from Vinokurov. He's probably pretty happy with the way the race is opening out for him just now. Everybody, Phil, is worried about tomorrow's stage with 4 big mountaintop finishes.
Well, this man's worried about winning the stage now. He's made all the right moves. There's another banner. It'll be 3 kilometres to go for him now. The boys behind are inside 4, so they're inside the last 1,000 metres behind him. It is going to be a desperate finish. I reckon they're about a minute 15 back of Carlos Sastre at the moment. And this is the hard approach to the line now. We're coming right up to the 3 ski stations up here. And Sastre is trying to get the win, while behind his team leader, Tyler Hamilton, is in a little bit of trouble, and he's probably going to lose his 4th place. Now an attack, and this is an attack by Zubeldia this time. Zubeldia has now got a reaction from Ullrich. Now where is Armstrong? He's got to shut his eyes, suffer, and grab that wheel, because Armstrong is only separated by 34 seconds from Ullrich. And remember, there's a bonus for the first 3 riders. Here comes Armstrong. Vinokurov is first across. Lance, without his team, has crossed the gap. This is a marvellous race.
A marvellous race. He's coming up alongside Vinokurov there. It just takes him on the inside. That's a brave move. A rather dangerous move as well, but he's straight onto the wheel of Ullrich.
Desperate move. And this other rider, the new sensation of the Tour de France, Heimer Zubeldia, had started it. Ullrich was up to it. Now Armstrong again has mastered the occasion. Vinokurov still just about getting on. Might be struggling a bit now, Alexander.
He may well be just in a spot of bother right now, but he's ridden so well so far in the Tour de France, and we've still got 3 more days of Pyrenean mountains to go. Ullrich now is controlling. This is the way he rode when he rode to victory in the Tour de France. He's looking down to see if he can see the shadow of Armstrong. Well, yes, Mr. Armstrong is still there. Iban Mayo has been put into a certain amount of difficulty too, because of these accelerations and the acceleration that came from his own teammate, Heimer Zubeldia.
I was sorry about that, but that guy almost took our camera out, and I was afraid he was going to take out Mayo there, and that was, he really shouldn't be in such a situation. There's a massive crowd up here. We knew there would be. Carlos Sastre is still clear, looking for 2 to go. And the gap is now, we're saying, at 1 minute 40 seconds. I'm pretty sure it's less than that. But here comes a big high-tempo attack by Jan Ullrich. Armstrong still controlling it. He's never spent so long on the defence in all the years he's won the Tour, but he's up to it. And again, another attack now coming from Zubeldia. Lance has got a bit of breathing room on Zubeldia. He doesn't have to answer him yet, but Vinokourov is going to hang on. And if he gets away, then Lance could well find he's back in trouble.
Let's not forget that we've got to look at a third-place sprint as well, and there's still a time bonus for the third-place rider across the line. There are 2 riders in front of the Armstrong group. Carlos Sastre about 45 seconds behind Juan Miguel Mercado, and at 1 minute 40 seconds the group of the yellow jersey. He is going to have to sprint it out at the end of the day to try and get himself. It might only be 8 seconds, but the end of this race, it could be a very important 8 seconds too.
I can't believe we're talking a seconds, Paul. Remember, in the first week of our commentary, we talked a second, saying, don't worry, next week we'll be talking of minutes. We are still talking of seconds. 51 across the top 3 riders of this year's Tour de France. It will be virtually the same or even closer by the time we cross the finishing line. This is an amazing Tour. And there's another attack by Vinokourov. Here it comes. Now, this is where he looks for seconds. He needs a 51. And if he can afford to get less if he wins the stage, because he gets 20 for the win. Alexander Vinokourov said he would attack in the mountains. He's waited all day, and this is his move.
This is a great move. This is the move that will get him a few seconds. But look at the power of Jan Ullrich. Armstrong in second position. Ivan Basso just hanging on to 4th place in the line, and the gap is opening. Armstrong has been put into difficulty there. He's lost the wheel of Ullrich. Ullrich has closed the gap to Vinokourov. Armstrong is having a terrible day.
Well, you say it is a terrible day, but it is a great day because he is holding on. Now Ullrich has taken over. And there's a huge cheer gone up here when they've seen Jan Ullrich attack in the finishing zone. And Lance Armstrong is in trouble. He wants that wheel of Ivan Basso. He needs that wheel of Basso. Armstrong, in the last kilometres of the climb, is now very much on the defensive. The yellow jersey is up for grabs. If there is a vacancy for the leader of the Tour de France, Armstrong is on the defensive. Jan Ullrich needs 34 seconds. Vinokourov needs 51. Less if they get in the first 3 because of the bonuses.
Armstrong is down, and he's on the wheel here of Ivan Basso. Now, if Jan Ullrich was to cross the line in 3rd place, Armstrong only has 26 seconds to play with. This man knows it. He's played in the Pyrenees before, and that was when he first won the Tour de France back in 1997. The big man from Germany is back, and everybody, including Zubeldia, is having a hard time staying on his wheel. Armstrong is out of the saddle now, and this is unbelievable. Armstrong would have expected in the Pyrenees to try and put time between himself and Jan Ullrich, but now he is completely and utterly on the defensive.
He has done everything right all day with his team, Lance Armstrong, but this year his legs haven't finished it off like they have in the last 4 years. Jan Ullrich has sensed it. Carlos Sastre, he's going to win now. He's in the last kilometre, but he'll only win the stage. Who will win the Tour de France? There is still a huge question mark over the race after this first day in the Pyrenees. It's the best result in the 28-year-old's career for CSC. Sastre deserves the victory. Second place on the road too. Mercado might hang on, but there is going to be one huge battle. That third... Oh, look at this. It's all over. And now the second place bonus could decide the destiny of the yellow jersey here. I've never heard a crowd cheer so loud here. They are watching this battle of the mountains. There is 12 seconds bonus for second place, which means that Ullrich must only beat Lance Armstrong by 22 seconds to take the yellow jersey.
It's going to be a big battle for Armstrong, and you can see the acceleration and determination on the face of Ullrich. That's not affecting the overall stage win today, because Carlos Sastre of Spain is going to get him the win for CSC. You know, Armstrong is beginning to recover. Race Radio saying he's starting to come back to the group of Jan Ullrich. He maybe didn't panic, but right now he's digging so deep to keep the yellow jersey on his shoulders behind the win for this man.
Well, we've overshadowed this man's victory by the incredible race behind, but let's give him his due accolade now. Carlos Sastre, only the second win of his career. He finished in 97, he puts a dummy in his mouth, and he has finished with a great win here. Carlos Sastre gets the victory. Will this man get the yellow jersey? He thinks he will. He's clipping these corners like he's going down, just a little descent here. Armstrong has got back up here now with Mercado, but it doesn't matter because this man, I think, is looking for seconds, and here comes Zubeldia as well, and Zubeldia is going to steal that second place bonus. That will help Lance Armstrong. This is unbelievable. Here comes, he digs deep now. Ulrich kicks again. The big man from Germany is looking for a bonus now of 12 seconds. Then we wait to see if 22 more tick by. If they do, we have a sixth leader of this year's Tour de France, and the record, by the way, stands at 8. Here comes Jan Ullrich to the line now. A final kick of determination has destroyed Zubeldia. Don't worry, the camera makes him look closer than he really is. As now Jan Ullrich comes to the line, and then the clock will start. Ullrich is second, Zubeldia gets a third, and now Lance Armstrong, you are brilliant. That is a recovery for you. He saves the day.
Oh, I was just working the calculations. He needed 1:23 to stay in the yellow jersey. The man did not panic. He did not throw it away. He's got time over Vinokourov and Ivan Basso. He could see the race disappearing in front of him, but Phil, he is a true champion. He's not going to throw away the yellow jersey like that. He battled all the way to the line. He saw Ullrich go. He didn't panic. He was going through a hard time, but he recovered and pulled himself back up. But this race is going to go right down to the wire.
Ciao, sono Massimiliano Lelli. Guardate il Tour de France su ITV. Is this your car?
Yes.
Are you all right?
Fine.
I used to think credit cards were all the same. Until I got this one from the Royal Bank of Scotland. Now, I'll pay 0% for 6 months. Then to 16.9% APR after that. On everything I buy. And balance transfers too. And the really great thing is, by using my card, I could earn myself something a bit special.
A credit card from the Royal Bank of Scotland now gives you air miles to spend on great days out or even a trip abroad. And you'll pay 0% for the first 6 months. To apply, call 0800 16 16 16. Make it happen.
118888. Directory inquiries? Hold the phone, sister. 118888 will save you. Half the price of BT 192. We'll save you. 118888.
I'm Carlos Sastre, and I want that you watch Le Tour de France in IMTV.
Well, the Centenary Tour is really turning out to be one of the tours of the century. I don't know about you, but the hairs were standing up on the back of my neck when Jan Ullrich made that attack in the final kilometre, and the noise when he came round the corner into the home straight up here was just phenomenal. Nobody in the past 5 years has seen Lance Armstrong attack and drop on a final mountain climb, but just when it looked as though he was going to lose the yellow jersey, round the corner he came in it. A recovery of real guts by the defending champion that limited his losses on the clock to 7 seconds. Talking of which, let's take a look at the stage result. There it is, Carlos Sastre with what amounts to a home win for Spain, ahead of Ullrich and Aymar Zubeldia. And look, Armstrong put 10 seconds worth of clean road between himself and Alexander Vinokourov over the final metres as he fought to limit the damage. Ivan Basso was 6th, ahead of Juan Miguel Mercado and Iban Mayo, who lost nearly a minute to Ullrich and 2 to the stage winner. Further down the mountain, the time gaps were bigger. Tyler Hamilton 2.5 minutes behind. Francisco Mancebo 3:09. King of the Mountains leader Richard Virenque 3 3/4 minutes. And Jose Luis Riviera, who was out front for so long, losing nearly 5 minutes after giving everything in the Armstrong cause. David Miller, fighting his bronchial problems, finished a respectable 30th, 9:38 behind the winner. and Baden Cook, the green jersey, came in 157th. Well, on any other day, Sastre would have taken the headlines for a great solo stage win. As it is, he was almost forgotten in the excitement going on behind him. A pity, because I'd be interested to know how long he's had that dummy in his jersey pocket, on the off chance that he might win a stage. Anyway, as I say, poor old Sastre as a sidebar today. The lead story is the slicing of seconds that's going on at the front of the race. Jan Ullrich only beat Lance Armstrong by 7 of them on this stage, but he picked up another 12 seconds as a bonus for finishing second, and that means the American's cushion is now down to 15. Dax gained time on Alexander Vinokourov though. He's now just over a minute back, and it's a 3-minute jump until you get to the next man, Aymar Zubeldia, with Tyler Hamilton and Iban Mayo rounding out the top 6. Ivan Basso, last year's best young rider, is an impressive 7th, and thanks to his stage win, Carlos Sastre has ridden himself up from 16th into the top 10. David Miller is currently 20th, 18:04 off the lead. So Armstrong remains in yellow, but there are 3 more days in the blistering heat of the Pyrenees still to come, and he knows he has to improve if he's going to come out of them with it still on his shoulders. Here he is with Matt Rendell.
You've had a problem with dehydration yesterday, and that seems to be continuing.
Definitely a problem with dehydration, and that takes time to recover. You can't recover from an effort like that in one day. So I did what I had to do, and I expected to possibly be worse today. So I can't be too disappointed. We still have some hard days.
The meteorological conditions are pretty hard, but there's some serious contenders this year. Have you ever been under this much pressure at a tour?
Well, considering other years by this point, I was lucky enough to have 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. No, it's never been obviously this close. So it's a different race and perhaps more exciting.
Lance, we haven't seen the US Postal team take the strategy it took today, sending a rider off the front before. That's something new for us too.
Yeah, we wanted to, because Chechu's only 17 minutes down, so we wanted to put him up there, and maybe some guys who, want to preserve their place in the top 10, or maybe even top 3. If they got more time, then they would perhaps work. But that was good. It was good to have him on the final climb. He did a great job.
And Lance, you're still in the yellow jersey, but it's a very narrow margin now, and on the basis of yesterday's result, the onus is on you to extend your lead before that final time trial.
Yeah, but yesterday was not a normal day. I mean, if you look at the last 4 or 5 years in the time trials against Jan, I've always held an advantage. So, of course, he's right. Looks to be riding great and riding better and better every day. So, we'll just do what we can. Maybe if the opportunity arises, we try to attack again. Otherwise, we go into the final time trial and do our best.
Well, before he thinks about the time trial, he's got tomorrow to worry about. Another massive day in the Pyrenees. No uphill finish, but no fewer than 6 mountains, 4 of them giant first category climbs, before a downhill sweep into the valley town of Loudenvielle. It should be another explosive day, and you can see it live on ITV1 tomorrow afternoon.
Now, before I go off for a rub down with the Pyrenean equivalent of a wet sporting echo, your last chance to enter this week's competition. We do have a new one starting tomorrow, but the current one ends at midnight tonight when the lines close. So if you want to win a Trek road bike, then make a note of the number and give us a call.
Our question this week concerns the jersey worn by the leader of the points competition in the Tour. We want to know what colour it is, and here are your choices. A, yellow, B, white, or C, green. 09001 229922 is the number to call. Lines are open until midnight tonight. And here's a reminder of the prizes. A superb Trek racing bike for the first correct answer out of the computer-generated hat. And 5 runners-up, copies of the official Tour de France Centennial book, which tells the story of the race year by year.
Now don't forget tomorrow, spectacular Pyrenean scenery, the most aggressive racing we've seen for years, and 2 riders separated by 15 seconds. What more do you want from sport on telly on a Sunday afternoon? That's Stage 14 live from 3:15 on ITV1 tomorrow, with highlights on ITV2.
Serious tactical game going on here.
Well, you're right, Paul, and what a wonderful Tour de France it is making for those people watching it on television or indeed on the roadside, because Vinokourov could be the spoiler here. 61 seconds behind, he could be the next yellow jersey. Armstrong cannot afford to monitor Ullrich for too long before he will have to do something.
He's already bridged the gap to Iban Mayo. This is looking like a completely different scenario right now, because Jan Ullrich does not have any teammates at all with him. Armstrong is just sitting there in the wheel of Ullrich saying, well, if you want to win the Tour, my mate, you better set the tempo and pull them back, because I'm not in a great form right now. But is it a game?
And by the way, let me remind you, if you're just watching, there is a breakaway a long way ahead on the road, but this is the race for the yellow jersey we are watching. Ahead is still Richard Baron, Gilberto Simoni, Laurent Dufaux, Walter Benetto and a handful of others. But here is the race for the next man to wear the maillot jaune. And you know, Vinokourov has said every day, I will attack and try to gain more seconds. And here he goes again.
Well, this is a great move by this man, 61. So there's Beltran. Beltran is sat up.
He was called back. He was called back by the team management to help Armstrong.
Absolutely and utterly. Amazing tactics that US Postal Service have adopted over these last couple of days. They've always had a man in the breakaway. That takes away the responsibility of chasing down the breakaway from the team, but it also gives them the ability to have that rider sit up when he's in a situation like this and wait for the team leader. This is a great tactical move, but is it going to be enough?
This is a game of bluff now. Ivan Basso, who was the best young rider last year, on the left of our picture. To him, the new best young rider, who's still young enough, is Denis Menchov. Armstrong is marking Ullrich. Ullrich is marking Armstrong, and this man is going for yellow.
He's walking away with it right now. He's got to make up 61 seconds at the end of the day if he wants to take over the yellow mantle in the stage and the result, because he is the one who's going out and chasing the lead of Armstrong. Armstrong today is in fact playing a very clever tactical card. He is forcing Ullrich to do the pacemaking. Ullrich wants to win the Tour de France right now. Armstrong saying, if you want to win it, you set the pace, mate.
Well, this is amazing now. Beltran is up now looking at Armstrong. He's asking the boss, what are the tactics? What do we do? Lance might be saying, just stay here and wait for Ullrich to move, because if he doesn't move, what is Lance going to do? He's going to say farewell to the yellow jersey today, that's for sure. But he's got to keep close enough to get it back in the few days ahead. We're into the last week of the Tour de France now. The Champs-Élysées, one time, seemed a long way away. Now it is literally next weekend, and there are huge celebrations for the arrival of the 100th year of the Tour de France, and Lance will be very disappointed if he doesn't arrive there in yellow. Well, these three are tempo. I emphasize these are not the leaders on the day, but they are the men who are fighting out the Tour leadership. Alexander Vinokourov is looking to no one for help. He won the stage into Gap when Loshiba Voloki was left lying in the melting tar, and Lance was doing his bit of cross-country riding. But now he's trying to get a result here that will result in his first ever maillot jaune, and indeed the first ever for a rider from Kazakhstan.
These are the men we'd almost forgotten about. These are the three leaders of the individual stage. Gilberto Simoni, of course, in there with Viron, and of course in there with Laurent Dufaux. This is a move now coming from the yellow jersey group. This is Mancebo of Ibanesto.com. Everybody is throwing caution to the wind right now, and they are seeing their positions in the overall standings disappearing away from them. Ivan Basso takes up the pacemaking. Phil, this is a very dodgy game to play for Armstrong and Ullrich.
Mancebo is now trying to. He commands a high place overall. He's 8th in the overall classification.
Romero can't take the pace. He is being left behind by Vinokourov and Iban Mayo. Vinokourov looking over now, looking for help, but he's not getting any at all.
Well, the crowd who've come to the Col de Peyresourde, it may take them a few hours to drive off it tonight, but they have witnessed a wonderful, wonderful attacking day. And still the top two men wait and watch as other riders sprint off the front. Well, at the moment, Paul, Alexander Vinokourov has a real chance, but what we must not forget, in this particular case, we go over the top of the mountain, and he's got to race to the finish, and it's a long way.
It's a long way from the top of the final climb of the day, the Col de Peyresourde. It's 11.5 kilometers. Most of those are downhill, but they are very tricky indeed. Armstrong is on the defensive right now. He's the man in the yellow jersey. He's allowed Alexander Vinokourov a small amount of advantage, but Vinokourov still has to make up a 61-second deficit on Armstrong. There are no bonuses for Alexander Vinokourov either, because there are three men well up the road in front of everybody.
Yeah, I think there are even more than that, but we've lost count now. The original breakaway has gone to pieces completely, but we won't forget, and this is Tyler Hamilton back here, I think. It might have been Sastre. I didn't quite see his number. No, there is Hamilton up there with his shirt tails flapping too, so he's still up there. Tyler Hamilton, who says he still gets pain from that fractured collarbone, but he's still very much in the Tour de France. An incredible battle, and there's a huge gamble going on now between Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich. Still 5 kilometres to go.
5 kilometres to go for the 3 leaders. Gilberto Simone has accelerated on a number of occasions, but he has not been able to put any gap between himself and Richard Virenque and Laurent Dufaux. It's 25 seconds their advantage over Walter Benetton, who is still surviving and doing a brilliant ride, but it's an awful long way back to the group of Jan Ullrich and Lance Armstrong. This is a complicated race right now because there are riders all over the slopes of this mountain.
Hi, I'm Chechu Rubiera. You are watching Tour de France on ITV.
Give your home a lift this year with some new blinds from Velux. Easy to fit and designed to last, our fantastic new range comes in every colour and style imaginable, perfect for Velux roof windows. For details of all our new Velux blinds, call 08700 60 70 10.
I'm Dave Pearce, and these are my dance anthems, the one essential dance album of the summer. An incredible 46 of the biggest dance anthems ever. Today's biggest new tunes with your favourite classic anthems. Dave Pearce, Dance Anthems, Summer 2003. Out now.
Bonjour, je suis Sandy Cazard, vous regardez le Tour de France sur ITV.
Tour de France is a cash cow. Replica jerseys are just the start of an official merchandising operation designed to ease the euros from your pocket. No trip to this year's tour could possibly be complete without a key ring. Well, aside from the official merchandising, there's already a thriving trade on the internet for, well, just about anything you can get your hands on, really. Just go to an auction site and type in Tour de France 2003 and see what comes up. For example, there's the very good value 2003 Tour de France silver €1.5 coin, yours for only $49. There's the unmissable, invaluable Lance Armstrong Tour de France 2003 newspaper, a 6-page pull-out from his local rag in Austin, Texas. There's a huge amount of material for sale by Kraftwerk. Remember them? Well, they've done the official CD for this year's Tour de France, and it seems to be doing a very good second-hand trade already. There's the very exclusive 2003 participations list, yours for only 99 cents. Well, I'll tell you what, I've got any number of those and I'll give you them for 50 cents. But best of all, and this is really cheeky, the official Tour de France route signs. Now, there must be hundreds and thousands of these up all over France, and they're for sale on the internet. Here's the salesman's pitch. This sign is in excellent condition with no folds or creases. There are 2 small perforations where the sign was attached to a lamppost before I nicked it. This sign would look great in your garage or bike room. Heck, it would look great in your living room. Right, that's the pension sorted. And for the cycling fan who has just about everything else, there's the deeply mysterious vintage poodle purse. Whatever that is. So, not to be outdone, I've decided to put up my official dirty laundry from 2 weeks on the tour for auction. Bids please by email to www.itv.com/tour.
Back out on the road, Alexander Vinokourov is going for glory, not cash. He has attacked the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong, and he needs 1 minute and 1 second to take the race lead. Let's get back to the action.
We're looking at a banner here now, and as we come up towards it, I think it's 15 kilometres to go now. The clock is on that banner. Vinokourov has gone through in the company of Iban Mayo. This is the elite group, if you like. It was once about 80 strong. It's now down to 4 men, and 4 men who have not yet responded to a single attack. All of the tempo riding has been driven by Ulrich's team. Now Ulrich is left by himself. His teammates left down the mountain to struggle home. 15 kilometres to the finish. Ulrich separated from Armstrong by 15 seconds. Paul.
50 seconds is the gap now between Alexander Vinokourov and the group containing Jan Ullrich and Lance Armstrong. The man from Kazakhstan only needs another 11 seconds to be the new leader of the bike race by the end of this afternoon.
There, the top right-hand corner of our picture is the top of the Col de Peyresourde. It is a long, heartbreaking road, this, to end today's stage in the Tour de France. Vinokourov is just lightening the load there, squirting out a bit of the water. He'll keep the rest for his head as he will slowly try now to take the yellow jersey on the road. He's got to make a death-defying descent of this mountain, and then in the valley he's going to have to find himself some more wings, because he's got to win by 61 seconds. He's not in line for a win bonus today. We haven't forgotten, but up front, still up front, is Richard Virenque, Gilberto Simoni and Laurent Dufaux. They will steal the stage in the bonuses.
And a host of other riders scattered in between as well on the slopes here of the Col de Peyresourde. 50 seconds right now is the gap between Vinokourov in the pink jersey and the yellow jersey, Lance Armstrong and Ullrich and Ivan Basso. But it will be a death-defying descent for this man. Behind, don't ever forget that Lance Armstrong can go down hills very fast when he has to. We've seen him doing that in the past, and if it hadn't been for that crash of Yoshiba Belocchi, I feel that Armstrong would have caught this man on the road down into gap, because once he started to open up the gas on that descent, he was closing down the advantage very rapidly.
But they're not doing that right now. They are still saying, I think the organisation's got pretty excited too now. They're doing just time checks between the two groups. They are saying it is still just 50 seconds between the two. It hasn't moved for about a half a kilometre now. There's the summit right up the top. Follow the zigzags. It's a vicious climb, the Col de Peyresourde. This destroyed British hopes in 1963, I think it was, when Tom Simpson got the yellow jersey for a day and lost it in an individual time trial on this climb.
But it smiled on Great Britain in 1983 when Robert Miller came the other way over this climb and got himself the victory in Luchon. And there you can see this man is Alexander Botcherov. He was earlier on the slopes of this climb, but he was dropped. The Col de Peyresourde was a first mountain ever included in the Tour route, and its inclusion, by the way, was brought about by the invention of a wheel with cogs on both sides that the riders could change. But it took them a long time to change the wheel at the bottom and get going again.
And the then organiser, Henri Desgrange, the founder of the Tour, didn't like it. He thought there was too much freewheeling allowed then in the Tour de France. All sounds very strange now. These boys would welcome the chance to freewheel now. They've been pressured on those pedals for a long time today. Armstrong has not gone to the front once today. His team too now are spread down the mountain. They're gone. Ivan Basso is profiting. He's just on our picture there in the white jersey from this move. He is having a great Tour de France himself. He sits currently in 7th place, and I think might find himself up to 6th today, because Tyler Hamilton is slipping away.
This is a change in the books. Daniele Nardello has now been picked up by his teammate, and Nardello, even though he's tired, will find a fraction of the energy that he can muster from somewhere just to set the pace. Even if it's only 500 metres, it will be a massive help to his teammate, who for the moment is only 11 seconds away from taking the yellow jersey on the road.
Well, Nardello didn't overdo the work rate in the breakaway, which got away after 12 kilometres. I think they've tried the same tactic as Lance Armstrong has these past 2 days, put a strong teammate in the front of the group. I thought they were shouting crash there for the moment, Paul. But what I was saying was they put 2 riders in the breakaway, and now when they've come back, they are able to still have the legs to help the riders. Now 1 kilometre to go. The flags of every nation fly. As we see there, the lines of Belgium, the Colombian flag, the Australian, the Basque flag of Spain. And down there somewhere in our picture, check it out, you might see the leaders of today's stage of the Tour de France. Well, as they keep coming up the climb now, this is towards the summit. Richard Virenque, I haven't worked it out, but he must be pretty near putting the top hat on the King of the Mountains this year. I don't think it's any point in Laurent Dufaux attacking him for the top. They'll concentrate now on the bottom. Another great day out in the high mountains for this rider, 119. And I'll tell you what, he'll thank his teammate too, Michael Rogers, for the way he helped him over the first 4 mountains. Now all Michael's got to do is struggle home and beat the time limit. This is an incredible crowd, Paul, on top of the Col de Peyresourde. And these riders now surely are going to fight out the finish.
Absolutely remarkable. The fans who have come up here to see the Battle of the Pyrenees. The group of Lance Armstrong is still holding on. It's 55 seconds right now, the difference between Alexander Vinokourov and Lance Armstrong.
6 seconds.
Vinokourov is not far away.
6 seconds, but he's making an awful big meal of it, isn't he? How much energy is he using today that he might need tomorrow on the climb of the Col de Tourmalet and the finish to lose Ardiden? This Tour de France will demand a rest day the day after that.
This is a bit of chaos for him right now. They're catching riders who are caught in between the leading group of 3 who are inside the final kilometre of the climb right now, and riders who would drop from that early morning breakaway of 17 men. These are the 3 survivors of the breakaway. Gilberto Simoni will be enjoying his Tour de France today, but so too will the man in second position, Richard Virenque, be. Laurent Dufaux is still holding on there. It's going to be a very dramatic descent because all of these riders can go downhill pretty fast.
Wait now for Richard Virenque to make his move. He's allowing Gilberto Simoni to go up through this massive crowd of people. It's hard for us now to show you where the riders are, so concentrate, because somehow Virenque is going to have to fight his way out of this melee of people. Most of these people, by the way, are Spanish. They're looking for the Spanish colours. They are not just Spanish, they are from the Basque country, as they always remind us. And the Basque cyclists are Iban Mayo and Zubeldia. The crowd parts here for the man who won the Tour of Italy so well this year by almost double figures, Simoni. And this day, at last, he has put himself into a position to win a stage. He's not disgraced himself in the end in the Tour de France. He almost abandoned on the road to Marseille because he was disgusted at losing an hour and a half. Now Virenque comes up to the summit. Is he going to have a go, Paul, or allow him just to go over the line in first place?
I think he's pretty happy with the work that was done there by Gilberto Simoni, so he knew that second place was good enough for him to build up that massive advantage he's got in the overall classification. We're now looking here at Alexander Vinokourov with Iban Mayo sitting on his wheel. This is Steve Zampieri, who they've picked up and passed, but the crowd are going ballistic. Look at all the orange jerseys, the Basque flags. They are cheering for the man who's in second position there, Iban Mayo, but the man doing the job is the man in the pink jersey, Alexander Vinokourov. He is currently 6 seconds away from taking the lead away from Lance Armstrong, and of course the second position away from Jan Ullrich as well.
And this is Walter Benetton still riding to a 4th place. Incredible by this young French rider, and he descends like a stone. He'll get back to those 3 if he doesn't overdo it, and let's hope he doesn't do that. Come on, Walter. You can see the summit now, one big effort, and you're over the top, and you're less than a minute behind, and you descend better than those 3 men in front of you. If he won, that would be unbelievable.
Absolutely, because I don't think his teammate Jean-René Bernadotte ever got himself.
Perron?
This is Andrea Perron.
Well,
he has done a great ride. This is brilliant. He was in the early breakaway as well, and he has managed to find his rhythm, and he too is in with a chance of pulling it all back together in the final 11.5 kilometres. Through the crowd, as the crowd opens there, this is the man who may well be the new yellow jersey at the end of the day. If they stopped the race at the top of the climb, he probably would be, but he's still got 11.5 kilometres downhill into the finish in Loudenvielle to keep hold of that 61-second advantage.
Armstrong is used now to losing his yellow jersey on the road and getting it back by the finishing line, and it could well be that way today. 1:41 to the leader over the top, who was Gilberto Simoni, who's not affecting the destiny in any way of Richard Virenque's King of the Mountains competition. He just made sure that Dufaux was behind him, and that's given him an enormous lead overall. These are the riders now, and this is why the people love the Tour de France. They don't need barriers to hold the crowd back. They just go through a corridor of noise, and the crowd pull away, and the riders move on.
If it's 2 minutes and 42 seconds on the clock when this group gets to the summit of the climb, then we do have a new leader of the bike race. at the moment with 11.5 kilometres to go. There is the clock ticking away on the left-hand side, 2:22, and these men are approaching the summit of the climb, and still Armstrong sits there, dances away. The time that we are looking for is 2:42, and as they come up to the line, it's Armstrong accelerating over the summit, and he's going to stop the clock, Phil, inside of 2:42. He's still the yellow jersey, but only by a fraction.
Ciao, sono Steve Zampieri. Guardate il Tour de France sur ITV.
What is Vavavoom? This chili has more, oh yes, than this one. Weird, no?
No Vavavoom.
Okay, okay. On one person it has Vavavoom. Look, I don't make the rules. Vavavoom is cool. Oh yes. But cool is not always Vavavoom. No. Okay, which one has the Vavavoom? As the rabbit. Is it joie de vivre? Or is it je ne sais quoi? Hey Bobby, what's the French for Vavavoom?
Humans sometimes like just to sit and do nothing. But that's not always the best policy. Because if you dig out your tax return and send it to the Inland Revenue by September the 30th, they'll work out the tax calculation for you. So then you can do something a little more exciting.
Self-assessment. Tax doesn't have to be taxing.
$5 million pixels, but no eye for a good photo.
How are things up at the big house, miss?
They're rattling along, Park.
Like my tractor?
Sorry?
Rattling along.
Quite.
Like to do new bacon flavour pot noodle, miss? The sizzler?
Parks.
It's oinking lovely.
Strange that something so grubby should be so delicious. But now, I'm going to have you shot, Parks, for pot noodling a lady.
New bacon flavour sizzler.
Shaving underarms can leave them red and uncomfortable. Dove deodorant contains 1/4 moisturising cream.
Ooh.
This helps skin put back what shaving takes out, leaving underarms soft and smooth.
I'll be with you in a minute, darling!
Here, love, make it easy for yourself. I'll just get a paper. Flash starts penetrating the dirt deep down, loosening it from the surface. It's twice as easy to wipe away than with any other all-purpose cleaner.
I've got a hob back at home needs doing.
Harry, pulled up socks are so not cool. Your hair's like horse's bum.
You're not wearing that old shirt to work.
It's my favourite.
Mum, you're getting bags under your eyes.
Oh, don't sugar the pill, Hannah. Say what you really think.
There's not a lot artificial about this family.
Did you mean your hair to be that colour?
Yes.
Maybe it's the bread they eat. Hovis, the only major bread brand whose entire range is free of artificial preservatives.
Hola, soy Aitor Garmendia. Están ustedes viendo el Tour de Francia en ITV.
Welcome back. We'll rejoin the action on the roads of the Pyrenees in just a moment, but before we do, we've got a new weekly competition for you, as well as the winner and the answer for last week's.
We asked you for the colour of the jersey worn by the leader of the points competition in the Tour, and it was sea green. Not sea green, but C as opposed to A or B. Anyway, the first correct answer out of the hat was from Gary Rayner from Nottingham. He wins the Trek bike, and these 5 runners-up will be getting copies of the excellent official Tour de France Centennial book. Now, for the last of our weekly competitions, we've saved the best bike. It's Trek's top of the line, as ridden by Lance Armstrong. And it could be yours if you can tell us who the last man was before Lance Armstrong to win the Tour. Here are your choices: A. Marco Pantani, B. Jan Ullrich, and C. Bjarne Riis. 09001 229922 is the telephone number to call, and the lines are open until midnight next Saturday.
Well, good luck with that. Back on stage 14, the men who matter have started the dramatic and dangerous descent down to the finish at Loudenvielle. Alexander Vinokourov has attacked, Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich are chasing, and any of the three of them could be wearing the yellow jersey by the end of today.
These are the three men who have shaped this day's racing for a great battle behind. The 35 seconds advantage that they have, by the way, is over Walter Benetton. He's already, Paul, knocked off 25 seconds on the descent.
He will be going absolutely ballistic.
We switched pictures.
No, this is Simone. This is Simone,
sorry.
Which is why
never look down when you're commentating.
They changed the colours of the jerseys before the Tour de France, Brioche Le Bourg-d'Oisans, because so often they were confused with Team Saeco of Gilberto Simone.
It's a dicey bend.
That's the corner right there when Jan Ullrich went off the road 2 years ago, 24 months ago, when he was trying to stay with Lance Armstrong on the descent, and it's Mayo taking all of the risks.
Well, we've got to see Jan Ullrich yet to go around that corner. Lance Armstrong saw him go and waited for him. He said, "You don't beat a man when he's down." Well, this is a very, very dicey corner. It is high speed, of course. These riders coming in at around 75. And don't forget, Jan Ullrich, when he went down that ditch, we feared for his life. But he came back up. Armstrong waited for him, and they continued. That was one of the most famous gestures of sportsmanship I think we can recall, Paul.
A dramatic moment in the sport of cycling. I remember on that day it was also Kevin Livingston who waited for his leader by the side of the road. Right now, the gap is down to just 40 seconds between Alexander Vinokourov and Lance Armstrong. The group of Ullrich Armstrong are really putting the hammer down on the descent. There you can see Ullrich. He did everything he could today to put Armstrong into difficulty. But Mr. Armstrong from Austin, Texas, is still sitting pretty at the top of the leaderboard.
These two have got a ticking time bomb in their back pockets. And tomorrow on the Col de Tourmalet or the ride up to Toulouse Ardiden, it is going to go off. They wanted an easier ride today, and despite the attack by Vinokourov, they have not reacted. Now they're chasing him down the mountain. They might well save the day. Lance may yet be starting tomorrow in yellow.
Well, these corners are treacherous on the descent of the Col de Peyresourde, but Armstrong is taking them to absolute perfection. He slowed down a fraction to come into that corner. He used all of the apex and accelerated right out to the left-hand side of the road, making sure that he did not lose too much impetus at all. 10 kilometres to go.
Well, that was for Vinokourov. That was 5 kilometres to go for Vinokourov as they come down the mountains. As we're now looking at the riders spread up on the descent here. This is the, I'm not sure, this is the second or the third group we're calling it on the road now.
This would be the third group on the road, right?
Zampieri.
Zampieri is in the group with Vinokourov. It's Ivan Mayer who's really doing the work on the descent, trying to close the advantage. This is the yellow jersey group of Lance Armstrong. They are going down this hill absolutely ballistically. Ullrich is in second place. Ivan Basso is in third place. And right on the tail there is Aymar Zubeldia. They won't get any help at all from him because he's got a teammate off the front who is climbing slowly but surely up the overall classification. This now is the leading group of three. They're off the slopes of the mountain, but they've still got a pretty hard ride to get themselves to the finishing line in Loudenvielle.
It is still possible to chase down these riders, not so much these riders. I might get pretty close because it's a nasty approach to the finish, steadily uphill, a wide, dead straight road down in the Luron Valley here. This is not over this race, even this close to the finish. And you know, Lance Armstrong knows that Jan Ullrich cannot descend, so he's taking control of that descent himself, and the gap is holding. They could still bring back Alexander Vinokourov before they get to the finishing line, and then it will be just a big waste of energy for the rider from Kazakhstan.
Maybe that's Armstrong's plan at the end of the day. Allow all these guys to attack me. They'll use a lot of energy on the roads of the Tour de France with moves like this, especially the nervous energy which Vinokourov is actually using right now. This is the yellow jersey group. As we get to the straighter part of the course, even Jan Ullrich has come forward.
This is Aymar Zubeldia who's come back. He must have got unhooked somewhere, but he's got back up to Lance Armstrong, who's accelerating. Jan just sits there, pumps those two big pistons he calls legs, and gets back on the wheel there of the yellow jersey. Aymar Zubeldia, something of a revelation of the Tour here, has got back on as the leaders are now approaching 3 kilometres to go.
I always think race organisers are very mean when they've had a long day in the saddle, 191 kilometres. They're inside 2 kilometres to go, and the organisation, just thank you very much, have thrown a nasty little climb in there to make the legs hurt that bit more.
But it could be a springboard for somebody like Simone, but I think they've just about spent all their energy today. They have been in the lead since the 12th kilometre. That's a breakaway of 179 kilometres today.
This is the race for the yellow jersey right now. There is Iban Mayo getting help from Alexander Vinokourov. He was the man who attacked on the final kilometres of the Col de Peyresourde. They've got a man who has probably never seen the front in the big mountains before with them. That's Steve Zampieri. This is the chase, though, from Jan Ullrich and Lance Armstrong, the two most talented men in the world of professional cycling. And Armstrong has got the power again.
I thought he was going to push it there. I thought he was going for the attack, but he's just to keep the pace high. They have been racing today for 5.5 hours as we speak. Another 5.5 hours of non-stop attacking and attacking. Just how much more can they take? 2 kilometres to go now for Vinokourov. Have you got Paul has started his watch now between him and Lance Armstrong. Vinokourov cannot ask help from anybody. It's down to his legs now. He's got to keep on racing. He'll finish last of those 3 when he gets to the line, but it's time that counts now. He's got to recover 61 seconds.
Well, the yellow jersey group is being led there by Armstrong and Ullrich. These are the 3 leaders. They're well inside the last 1.5 kilometres to go. Richard Virenque is so happy to be here. These guys now can play the tactical game. They know they're not going to get caught at all. This is the group. Armstrong's group is being led here by Ivan Basso. The clock is ticking by, but it's safe for Armstrong at the moment because I make it just 40 seconds up to Alexander Vinokourov.
40 seconds, he would still be in by 21 seconds, while Jan Ullrich...
Perron has caught the leaders. Andrea Perron has caught the leaders inside the final kilometre.
Well, that's an amazing result. Now, this could be the result of the day, as he's come from nowhere. Somehow, too, remember, he must have got mixed up with Walter Benito, and Benito hasn't come back, and we thought he was the descender. Perron was catching all the way up the Peyresourde. We ran out of cameras. We didn't know where he was. We knew he was up there somewhere. Now, with fresh legs and adrenaline pumping, can he do it?
Well, he's not a great sprinter. He's got a slight advantage. Virenque is in the best position right now. He's in 2nd place. Gilberto Simone's in 3rd. Dufault is up into 4th. Simone adjusting his glasses. Perron is leading it out. He needs to look over his shoulder.
That's
he does not have a gap. He hasn't got the gap, and Virenque is sitting pretty.
That is a mistake. Andre Perron could have got a nice double here, because here goes Richard Virenque. I think Simone's going to get this. Simone's not a bad sprinter. Brakes are on. Very tight bend. Now they're lining up for the finish now. Richard Virenque, can he make it too? 1 in the Alps, but here comes now Simone. He wants this win. It's a matter of prestige as Gilberto Simone clearly, neck and neck now. Virenque still managing, and here comes Dufault. Dufault, no, on the line. He's got it, and boy, am I relieved. Gilberto Simone has got it. Walter Benito in the distance there just couldn't hold that man Perron on the chase. Well, Gilberto Simone has won the day, a big relief to Seiko and him, but now the clock really starts, because this is the race for the yellow jersey. And now we have Alexander Vinokourov, his face a picture here. He's not leading the race like he was when he won the staging gap. That doesn't matter. Time is what matters in the Tour de France, and the clock will really start when he hits the line. He's going to finish here in 6th place on the line, maybe 7th, maybe 8th. He'll be challenged now by Mayo. Mayo comes out, no, and he did it as well. So the clock has started, and now we wait.
Needs to be 1:42 on the line if Armstrong is going to lose the lead in the yellow jersey competition. But they are in the streets of Loudenvielle right now, and they are pumping to the line. It's amazing how this man has controlled the race so far since it left Paris. He's always been there, always been in the action. He's hardly made a mistake so far. The only mistake he's made is letting Jan Ullrich beat him by 1 minute and 36 seconds in the individual time trial. But look at that clock. It's Armstrong on the front. He too is not worried about his position on the stage. He's worried about the clock. As the clock ticks by, that's what is important for Armstrong. He's inside the final finishing straight right now, and he's kept it. It needs to be 1:42, and it stops at 1:23.
19 seconds, all unofficial, of course. He keeps that yellow jersey, but with Ullrich alongside him at 15 seconds, and Vinokourov at 19, I can't believe it. A blanket over all 3 as we go to the high climbs of the Pyrenees again tomorrow.
And a blanket's the last thing you want over you in the high climbs of the Pyrenees. There's the stage result. Gilberto Simone winning ahead of Laurent Dufault and Richard Virenque, with Alexander Vinokourov 6th and Iban Mayo 7th, both 41 seconds behind the winner. The group, containing Armstrong, Ulrich, Aymar Zubeldia and Ivan Basso, was another 3/4 of a minute back. Tyler Hamilton and Francisco Mancebo lost 3 minutes to the Armstrong group on the day, but the big loser on time was David Miller, fighting illness and coming in 148th, nearly 33 minutes after the winner.
How much did he suffer out there today?
Oh, I don't even know. There aren't words. My vocabulary isn't sufficient.
So it's getting worse rather than better?
Well, yeah, it's normal. Last 3 days have been horrible. Today was horrible again. It's just horrible.
So is your heart still in this tour? Are you going to make it to the end, do you think?
My heart's still in it. My lungs and the rest of my body don't seem to be. But
you'll soldier on? Start tomorrow?
Yeah. Soldier on. Soldier on.
And with that, he soldiered off to dish out a few autographs, possibly signing them Ali G. All credit to him, though, for refusing to give in. 7 men did today, and that means there are now 155 riders left of the 198 who started the race. A few days ago, there were rumours that this man was going to be one of them, but he's hung on for a stage win, although it doesn't really make up for his failure to challenge Armstrong in this race the way he declared he would in advance. Lance, of course, has other things to worry about than Gilberto Simoni.
Lance, the GC is still very close, but that was a better day for you. You looked a lot stronger.
I felt better. I mean, as I said yesterday, it's hard to... You can't recover from a time trial like that with such severe dehydration in one day. So I was lucky yesterday to limit my losses to a few seconds, and today I felt better, and hopefully tomorrow there's another uptick.
Vinokurov's attack surprise you?
He's aggressive, but I'm worried about Ulrich, not Vino.
Well, maybe it's time he was. If people keep underestimating Vinokurov, they might underestimate him all the way into the race lead. He remains third, but he's closed the gap to 18 seconds on Armstrong, while Ulrich remains the same 15 seconds back that he was this morning. Ivan Mayo's ride on Vinokurov's coattails takes him past Tyler Hamilton, who also drops below Ivan Basso to 7th. Richard Virenque has almost ridden himself into the top 10 with his performance in the mountains. Denis Menchov, leading the best young rider competition, is 12th. David Miller, though, drops to 29th after his long day in the saddle. Gilberto Simoni's stage win moves him up 19 places to 54th. Richard Virenque, by the way, cannot now be caught in the King of the Mountains competition. He has that won, as long as he makes to Paris, of course. Well, another day in the mountains, another day of drama. I'm joined by Stephen Roach now, winner of the 1987 Tour. Stephen, Vinokurov within 18 seconds. Is that a distraction from the main race between Armstrong and Ulrich, or can he win it?
18 seconds is still very close to the yellow jersey, but still a long way away. Tomorrow, I reckon Vinokurov will go on the attack again in the hope that...
He's gone on the attack almost every day in the mountains.
He has to go on attack again tomorrow in the hope that the markage between Ulrich and Armstrong will benefit himself, so he can get a minute or 2 minutes ahead maybe and try and get the yellow jersey. But I think tomorrow we're going to have Armstrong relying totally on Ulrich to do all the riding again and his teammates, in the hope to eliminate the maximum amount of his teammates and the hope of maybe launching a big attack. He has to make a big attack on Ulrich, because coming out of the Pyrenees tomorrow night, going into the rest day, I think that if Armstrong is still only some 15 seconds ahead of Ulrich, the Tour ain't won yet.
All right, and a massive day in the Pyrenees tomorrow, over the Col d'Aspan, over the Col de Tourmalet, and finishing up at Ardiden, where 2 years ago Jan Ullrich conceded the race to Lance Armstrong with an outstretched hand. I don't think...
First significant accelerations now coming from the peloton.
Ulrich's gone with Armstrong. Now look at this right now.
Oh,
I didn't expect this quite so early.
If they've gone at this time of day, what will happen by the end of it? Because we're only halfway up, 3/4 if you like, of the Col de Tourmalet. A huge turn of speed. Ulrich must have taken the decision to test Armstrong to his limits today and not wait for the last climb.
Well, 100 years the Tour de France has been around. We were expecting a big stage today, but if they're going to attack this far from the finish, we are looking at a legendary stage. This stage, oh, and Armstrong was losing the wheel here. He's got to pick it up if he wants to stay with Jan Ullrich. Ullrich appears to have put Armstrong into difficulty already.
Well, that is amazing, but Armstrong was not expecting an attack so far. Well, we're waiting to see now. Here he is, Alexander Vinokurov, also caught on one guard there. The Ullrich attack has hurt him, and Alexander's going to have to get into rhythm. I can't believe Armstrong expected an attack from Ullrich on the Col de Tourmalet. We expected a thinning out of the teams, but not an attack by this man.
This is a brilliant move by Jan Ullrich, because everyone was talking about the showdown on the slopes of the final climb of the day, Luz Ardiden. And this attack has caught out the climber from Kazakhstan. Alexander Vinokourov is in serious difficulty. This is La Mongie. And I think there's a crowd out today, Phil.
I think there is, Paul. And this is where we have had a stage finish in the past. Sylvain Chavanel will be unaware of the infight which is now started. There goes Inigo Charot, just been blown away by the top two men in the Tour de France. This is a great move by Lance. He sensed the slowing, he's regulated the speed, and he's got back to Jan Ullrich. But you know, almost visibly there, Jan Ullrich has gone faster again.
But look at Armstrong's face. This is not the face that was stressed in the Alps. This is the face of concentration. It's a face of a man determined to finish the job off. This was a brilliant move by Jan Ullrich, a long way from the summit of the Col de Tourmalet, a climb which from the bottom to the top is 17 kilometers in length. And I don't think Ullrich will be very happy to see the return of the yellow jersey. But what they've done is put into real stress this man in the pink jersey, Alexander Vinokourov, third in the overall classification. Everybody was expecting this man to be the dynamiter of the Pyrenees this afternoon. Well, it looks as if the tables have turned.
And Ullrich has made his move, and now has found this one. Armstrong has answered. Well, and there is Meaux, so Meaux had gone clear. He's got on.
Well, it was interesting to note that Meaux came up through the confusion of that flurry of attacks. In fact, Alexander Vinokourov is 32 seconds behind Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich at the moment. The race situation is we have the one leader, Sylvain Chavanel, and about 2 minutes behind him now Meaux wants to go. He wants to plant the acceleration, and this is going to put the other two into difficulty, because this man has got great ability to accelerate on the slopes of climbs like this. But the man who thought he was going to win the Tour de France yesterday with a magnificent attack on the Col de Peyrasourde, Alexander Vinokourov, here in the pink jersey of Team Telecom, is having severe difficulties on the slopes of the Col de Tourmalet. We are in for a huge battle, but it's rather interesting, Phil, to look at the bicycle choice today of Jan Ullrich. He's got a machine there with very aerodynamic rims, and looking at those rims, I think he might have a problem on the descent, because the descent is very tricky and those rims are very rigid. This is Zubeldia coming back to the leading group now. I call them the leading group because they're the leading group of riders at the Tour de France, maybe not on the stage, because that honour lies on the shoulders of Sylvain Chavanel. Well, Sylvain Chavanel, he can ride a relaxed final 500 metres. He gets to summit here, and he will get himself a rather special prize of going
Paul,
over
this has been an incredible day out for this young man. He has won every prize on the road today. The hotspot sprints, all of the mountain climbs. The only one remaining now is the last one of the day. That'll be a big ask, but he can't say he hasn't given his heart to this stage.
He's still got to keep a fairly steady head on his shoulders right now, because he faces a long descent from the summit of the Col de Tourmalet down into Luz-Saint-Sauveur. It's a descent of almost 20 kilometers. And I'll tell you one thing, when he gets to the bottom of that descent, his arms will be absolutely aching. He shouldn't lose any time on his advantage, because he should be able to keep an average speed of pretty close to 45 or 50 miles an hour on the descent, as we get confirmation of the time gap of Sylvain Chavanel to the Armstrong-Ullrich train here, 5 minutes and 6 seconds, and still caught in the middle, Santiago Botero of Colombia.
Yeah, he'll be next over the top of the col.
Armstrong still looks pretty comfortable, and he swings across here to see if anybody else wants to take care of the pacemaking, and Alexander Vinokourov has recovered to get into contact with this group, and this group just in front of him there is Patrice Algon, the leader of the Jean de la Tour team, as we get a chance to see the group of Armstrong themselves now only 1 kilometre from the summit of the climb, so they are really not that very far behind him, and I may think that we could see a gap of around about 3.5 to 4 minutes when they summit.
Well, these are a very elite bunch. This is almost how it's been since the prologue in Paris, hasn't it? Zubeldia doing a third place finish there. Ullrich has a fourth place finish. Armstrong a bit further down there, but all spread by seconds. Here they are, now 16 days into the Tour de France. They're still riding together in the high mountains now in the Pyrenees. A massive crowd cheering them on, and Those guys in the orange jersey will be very careful there.
Botero, and he's sitting back looking to see what's going on.
What is he doing?
The problem of his teammate Alexander Vinokourov. He's been given the order, I would expect, over race radio to sit up and wait, because you don't ride the Tourmalet like this. He's had the orders, wait for our man. He's in difficulty right now. He's losing his podium position at the Tour. He needs help.
1 kilometre to go now, and that's where the main pack is here, with Alexander Vinokourov in. There he is, number 28. At least he's got back on, but he is in terrible difficulty. The Tourmalet, 100 years. Well, actually, it's only 90 for the Col de Tourmalet. The first time it was climbed was in 1910. Armstrong over Alexander Vinokourov, already 1 minute and 1 second. So the same time gains, of course, for the two Spanish riders. So if they gain 3 minutes on 3 minutes more on Alexander Vinokourov, then they are going to jump over him in the positions. There is Santiago Botero. He's received a word from his team to wait for his falling leader. Armstrong doesn't even look at him as he races by, and Santiago Botero now looking for him.
Well, he's a good man to have wait for somebody like Alexander Vinokourov on their 20-kilometre descent from the summit here of the Col de Tourmalet, because after all, he is the champion of the world at the individual time trial. He's a man who's got plenty of power, and he's a man who is very capable of riding at 100 kilometres an hour on the descent.
Well, this is a real battle, because Alexander Vinokourov now is in terrible trouble. He is hanging on the back there.
There's complete confusion at the top here. The race radio is rattling in my ear at the moment. The race referees are shouting at all the referees and motorbikes to get everybody out of the way in front of the yellow jersey group. Armstrong is just sitting on the wheel of Jan Ullrich, and do not ever forget that although he's been attacked on many occasions during this Tour de France, he is still the leader. They've thrown their attacks at him day after day in the mountains, and right now he still holds on to the men at the top and his closest challenger, Ullrich.
Well, as they're coming up, Paul, just over 3 minutes has gone by, so they have ridden so much quicker on this climb than the lone French leader.
Well, they are hammering. They are really battling it out. We expected a showdown on the final climb of the day. Well, we are certainly going to have a showdown there, but there are not going to be that many people in the game, because right now it's Ullrich and Armstrong. Armstrong, you look at his face, he's not in difficulty right now. He's in a very good day, and they've got the two best riders in there as well, Iban Mayo and, of course, Haimar Zubeldia. And those two riders have got a very good chance of climbing up in the overall classification today ahead of Alexander Vinokourov. And I read earlier in this afternoon the position of Alexander Vinokourov at the end of this stage in 2001. He finished almost 7 minutes behind the leaders, and that's probably in his mind right now. There's Hamilton, Morrow and Ivan Basso.
Hamilton's had a wonderful climb. He's come up to these riders and he's...
The day on which a row of Pyrenean proportions broke out on these very slopes. It was a clash of two of cycling's greatest names. Bernard Hinault, a French icon, the winner of 4 Tours de France and already in the yellow jersey hunting down his 5th. The man was indisputably the boss. Enter teammate Greg LeMond, brash, American and fast, but also a free spirit in a sport where team orders have to be followed instantly and unblinkingly. Even before the start, team manager Paul Herclay knew that a storm was brewing.
Will you let Greg LeMond go if he wants to?
If he can, that's the problem.
He could, he did, and he was ideally placed to take over the race lead from Hinault when he was told his attack was over. His bid to win the stage, and indeed his chances in the Tour overall, were finished. Stephen Roach was with him when it happened.
Hinault was behind. I had attacked on the Tourmalet, and I'd gotten away with Greg LeMond, I think Pedro Delgado, and Lucio Herrera or Fabio Parra, I forget who it was. But and then going up the Ardiden, and myself and Greg were together, and Greg wouldn't work with me because his director sportif manager Bernard Tapie was saying, Greg, you don't ride. So I was afraid not to ride too hard because I was afraid Greg would attack me and leave me for dead. So I kind of kept a little bit under the pedal all the time. Whereas if Greg had worked with me, I think he would have taken the yellow jersey. You know, I would have been second maybe, but the history's already made now.
On an emotional knife edge, LeMond did what he was told and waited for Hinault. But after the stage, the American was seething.
Do you want me to punch you in the face? No. Get out of here. Hey, if Hinault was in my place, he would not have waited. That's all I have to say.
Still think you have a chance to win?
It's over now.
Well, before the break, we saw Alexander Vinokourov heading over the summit of the Tourmalet, more than a minute down on the group of Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich. He had the help of his teammate Santiago Botero on the descent, and as we pick it up, he's still chasing on the short stretch of flat, leading to the final climb of Les Ardiden.
Jan Ullrich in the overall classification. Yeah. Armstrong didn't need to attack. It was Ullrich to attack if he wanted to win the Tour de France. It's basically Ullrich to attack if he wants to win the Tour de France here as well. But I think Armstrong is riding fairly well. He's controlled all the accelerations. He's always been at the front. I'm a bit worried about the fact that he's been climbing out of the saddle on a number of occasions, indicating he may still be suffering from a slight back problem from that early crash he had in Meaux.
I'm a bit concerned for, because we've only got a 15-second gap, and we saw how Ullrich accelerated on the Tourmalet and Armstrong couldn't close it. If he leaves his move till late, he could take 15 to 20 seconds, get the win bonus, and he would take the yellow jersey, and it would reverse the standings, possibly in favour of a win for Ullrich.
Could go either way or the other. It's been discussed inside out, I think, over the last 3 days by everybody. The Germans believe that Ullrich's going to do it. The Americans and the English speakers believe that Armstrong is going to do it. Well, nobody will know until we get to the final 5Ks or so. Armstrong is completely confident. I think he looks pretty good this afternoon. When he gets out of the saddle, he looks comfortable, he looks easy. You look at the position of all these other guys behind him. They're all grovelling to stay in contact with this very elite group.
4:38 is the gap from Chavanel to these riders, and it's going to be tight. Chavanel has just 9 kilometres left to climb to the summit. He's holding his lead, really. They're not coming up on him just yet. Denis Menchov here, and there's been an attack by Mayo. There it is, as he makes his move, and look who goes, Armstrong, and look who follows, Jan Ullrich, but not as sprightly.
Not as sprightly. The big thing about Armstrong, he has the acceleration. When he wants to go on the climb, he can do it. He has now decided, I want to go. You can see the yellow jersey is opening up a slight advantage. Mayo now has to dig deep. Ullrich has got the big gear going. He's coming up to the wheel of the Basque rider, but Armstrong wants to go right now.
Armstrong was waiting for somebody to pull in the flag, and now it was
what's happened
there? What has happened there? It seemed quite a normal corner. He must have hit somebody in the audience. Mayo has gone. Now the situation. Remember the pair of swords when Ullrich crashed, Armstrong waited. But let's have a look at this now. I still is unclear here exactly what happened.
I can't see. I think he just touched somebody with his handlebar there, but his chain is off. His chain is stuck, and it's complete and utter chaos at the back end of the bike race. Can he recover? He's on his same bicycle. His teammate is there right now. He's changed up onto the gear to try and get himself. He's got a teammate there. There is Chechu Riviera. Calm down. Don't panic, lads. He's saying, he's putting his hand down and saying, don't worry, we can get back into this.
The adrenaline will be pumping now like you will not believe here. He's got to control it, otherwise he'll take himself over the top. He's so lucky to have a teammate, and I think he's waiting.
Well, Ullrich is now in first place. I can't believe he will take advantage of this. He's looking over his shoulders. He knows there's a possibility of winning the Tour de France right now, but he's not sure what's happening. There is Vinokourov in front. There is Iban Mayo. He's the man who went down with Armstrong as well.
What is going on?
There's a problem with his pedals. He has a problem with his pedals.
This is what happened. I think his pedal may have broken. This happened. He didn't hit anybody.
Well,
it was the problem with his pedals.
It was very strange to see that. He's looking down. He now knows he's got a serious problem. Watch this now.
Well, this is awful.
Digging deep, and his foot has just come out, and I don't believe how he's managed to keep it upright there.
And how did Mayo must have panicked as well there. Well, what is this Tour de France going to end with? Every day is something different. Ullrich will be totally unaware and probably totally perplexed as to why Armstrong fell, but I think that was positive proof that it was nothing to do with the spectators.
He is not far behind. He's in the cars there, just behind Jan Ullrich.
Ullrich is not pushing it on. Hamilton here, speaking with Basso, saying slow it down a bit.
This is unbelievable. They are waiting for the man in the yellow jersey, and he's come back. He's still going to have that mechanical problem. He's going to need to change his machine because his pedal has come out on 2 occasions. Look at the burn on his back there where he went down very sharply indeed as another move comes. This is Iban Mayo now, has seen the yellow jersey back in the group, and he puts the pressure on once more.
Well, twice now we have seen problems here for Lance Armstrong. Clearly his right pedal. We've seen pedal problems before in big races, but what a day and a place to have a pedal problem. Ullrich did not want to push his advantage. Hamilton spoke with the others, but really it's nothing to do with them. They want to win the Tour.
Hola, soy Juan Antonio Flecha. Ustedes.
My name is Pavel Padnos, and you are watching Tour de France on ITV.
Welcome back. Now let's quickly recap today's drama so far on the tour. Lance Armstrong brought down by a stray string on a spectator's food bag on the final climb of the day, struggling to get the chain back on his bike and then almost bringing himself down, pulling his foot out of the pedal in his anxiety to get back into the race. Well, he is back in the race as we join it. Sylvain Chavanel, not that anybody except his mother cares, is still out in front, and the Armstrong-Ulrich group is all back together with 9 kilometres to go to the summit.
They are now climbing steadily. They've brought themselves in. They're composing, but Lance now will be feared to get out of the pedal. He won't be pushing down on that right leg too hard in case whatever is happening happens again. It must be his cleats somehow twisting out of the fitting.
But the faithful Chechu Rubiera is always there. Armstrong is out of the saddle again. He's jumping onto the tail here of
Here he goes again.
But you know, thinking back to that crash, I think and he's going again, he's accelerating again, Phil. This is amazing. This man has been on the ground. He almost lost his manhood on the crossbars a few moments ago, and he's decided he wants to go.
9 kilometres to go to the summit. The leader is just on 7.5 kilometres from the summit. Don't forget, Sylvain Chavanel is doing the ride of his life. But even though he's French, or French hosts with the cameras, know that this is the battle for the winner of the Tour de France. And what a race this is. Lance Armstrong now, the adrenaline still pumping from his double accident, and Ulrich has gone on the defensive completely. Here he comes.
This is fabulous. This is unbelievable. The man was on the ground. He's had problems with his pedal, and he's now decided to go out onto the attack and put Ulrich onto the defensive. Ulrich now has to try and get into a rhythm so he doesn't lose too much time on the yellow jersey of Armstrong. He wanted to do something very special this afternoon, and I wonder what the problem was with his pedal. It could just have been slight nervousness, because I think the crash was formed when he just clipped his arm on the right-hand side. There was a spectator looking the opposite way. Armstrong just touched him and he went down, and the front wheel was taken from underneath him. This is Alexander Vinokourov. He has got the pink jersey on his shoulders, but that is of Team Telecom, not as of leader of the Giro d'Italia. Right now, this man is trying to stay in a podium position for the moment. The drama, though, is at the front of the bike race. Look at the blood on Armstrong's left arm there. He went down very hard indeed. He didn't have time to even control that crash because his front wheel just flipped around and he went right over the top. But he's bounced back and he's put the big German into difficulty.
Well, it is unbelievable, but now Ulrich, who was on the attack on the Tourmalet, is now on the reverse here on Les Ardiden. Armstrong has just doubled his lead in the Tour de France. He was 15 seconds ahead overall. He's now 30. But Ulrich knows he's got to monitor that attack. This race is not going to end on Les Ardiden today, because Ulrich will go to the time trial, maybe with 30 or 40 seconds deficit. He can possibly reverse that in the last time trial in Paris. That's what he's thinking right now. We're looking at the man here who is actually surviving now rather than racing, Sylvain Chavanel. 2 minutes 16 seconds, but despite all that commotion behind him, the gap has come down. This is the elbow of Lance Armstrong, a souvenir, nothing more than that. There's no real damage there, but I'm not sure that with 6.7 kilometres to go for the leader, Chavanel will make the summit now. Here is the big fight for the Tour de France, and this is it where it is happening. Ulrich is really hurting. His face never shows us this.
Look at the difference in the faces of the two men. A few days ago, the face of this man in the blue jersey of Team Bianchi was a concentrated face, a face of a man out on a mission. Right now, it's the face of a man going through pain, excruciating pain, and just wanting to keep himself in the bike race. The difference is, between the two men, Lance Armstrong is able to accelerate. Let's get a look at Armstrong's face here. This is the face that reminds me of Sestriere. This is the face that reminds me of the Alpe d'Huez. This is the face of the man on a mission this afternoon. And please, Mr. Spectator, keep out of the way, because we don't want that to happen again. This man himself in all kinds of purgatory, just trying to keep his pedals ticking over. He's well behind the Jan Ulrich group right now. He's trying to keep himself on the podium with the Tour de France. He started today 18 seconds down in the overall classification as we bob back up to Lance Armstrong. Out of the saddle. This is an unbelievable tempo he's ticking out here right now, Phil. It's absolutely perfection on a bike. He's ticking it out with the regularity that you normally only get in a metronome sitting on top of a piano.
Yes, and this man's doing exactly the same, and he's not overdoing it right now. He's at the top, but he's not at the very top. He has the ability, I think, just now to launch an attack to snatch those seconds back. Vinokourov, this is the battle of the big three, the men who were covered by 18 seconds. It's all changing today.
It's all changing quite dramatically. Sorry about the little bit of picture breakup, but these are live pictures coming from the roads of the Pyrenees, and this man has been on the attack for an awful long time, Sylvain Chavanel. Whenever you see a man escape from a break like this, you want him to survive, but it is so difficult to survive when the race kicks up towards the skies. But look at the face further down the slopes of Jan Ullrich. He's going through all kinds of difficulties right now.
In trouble.
He's in serious trouble. It's not the first time. He's a bigger man than Lance Armstrong. He's carrying probably 15 kilos or 33 pounds more than Armstrong up the slopes of this mountain. And his climbing style is completely different. He climbs with power. And that's what people said about Armstrong in the early part of his career. You cannot climb the big mountains of the Alps and the Pyrenees using a big gear. You've got to use a small gear. You've got to spin at a high cadence. And that's something that Armstrong has learned ever since he came back from cancer in 1997. And since then, he's used a smaller gear in the mountains, and he can succeed in the repetition of cols that the Tour de France throws at you.
This man heading for the 5-kilometre sign.
And I don't think he's going to win, because the last time check came through there at 1 minute and 10 seconds for Sylvain Chavanel over Lance Armstrong, and 1 minute and 40 seconds to the group containing Jan Ullrich. So there's 35 seconds between Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich for the moment, and we're not yet at the summit.
Time can be prized open to make the time trial a little bit more comfortable at the end of the week. But right now, this is the old Lance Armstrong, who's kept everybody in suspense for 16 days. And yet, his attitude changed yesterday. You could see his look in his face change. He was beginning to look forward to the stages again. He was no longer haunted by the pressures of the race. He's back in his old pedaling style here now, and it's up to the others to bring him back. He's actually riding up here very, very quickly. 1:06 the gap now to the leader. And it is going to be bad luck for Sylvain Chavanel, but it looks to me as though Lance Armstrong's going to win the day.
Looks like he's going to win the day, and we're looking at a gap of 45 seconds between Lance Armstrong and Jan Ullrich, so the gap is certainly starting to open. And a lot further down the slopes, we're also looking at Alexander Vinokourov, who is just trying to keep himself in 3rd place in the overall classification.
Which he should do, but it'll be a lot further away from Ullrich and Armstrong by the end of the day. 46 seconds now, the gap between Armstrong and Ullrich. That takes him out to over 1 minute in front. That, I think, he'll think is a comfortable gap for the time trial, even if he isn't having a good day.
Plus, you can add to that an extra 20 seconds as well if we stop with the time gaps that we've got right now, because there'll be a 20-second winning bonus at the summit of this mountain for the first man to cross the line. And if anything happens, if nothing else happens, it should be this man. But what a face.
Well, he is giving it 110% now and more. This is it, the big chance. He's saying, this is it, I'm going to drive it home, and I'm going to win my 5th Tour de France, and they aren't going to catch me. And he's going to do it and look back on the greatest tour he has ever ridden, because he's pulled himself off the ground to attack them.
And you can see there, just on his shoulder, the jersey is blurred where he slipped onto his back in a very hard crash, which could have been disastrous for him. He regards the time trial performance as disastrous, but that climb he had, that crash he had just a few moments ago, was very, very hard onto the ground. The face of Jan Ullrich, he's digging deep, he's looking for power, but there isn't enough power to respond to Armstrong on the slopes of this climb. He knows right now he's got to try and nail back the American as we bob up the slopes here to see Sylvain Chavanel, Phil. And he's just said, bridge to engine room, more power, and there isn't any.
No. Well, we're getting fancy addresses every day. Bit of a haunting man on the climb there, because Lance Armstrong now, there's a flotilla of motorcycles just in front. It could well be. He's now seen the man who's led this race out from the beginning today, Sylvain Chavanel, and won everything. These boys are still making Jan Ullrich do all of the work, because they've not a lot to gain if they don't, and they keep looking at him. Ullrich isn't asking for help now. This is 1-on-1. This is the big effort now. There is the catch. The first time anybody has seen this man for hours and hours today. He's won every prize on the road, but Lance Armstrong is going to have to deny him a win here, because he needs that win bonus of 20 seconds as well.
And of course he needs the pride, Phil, of winning a road stage of the Tour de France, because not very often do riders win the Tour de France without winning a road stage.
Only 4 times since the Tour,
I think the last one I remember
won a stage
was Greg LeMond.
There's 4 of them: Gaston Nencini, Lucien Aymar, 2 I can remember at the moment. Roger Wolkowiak was the other one. So those 4, nice pat on the back. Very sportsmanlike by Lance Armstrong, He's no choice but to go on. I think if it wasn't such a matter of time, he would have let this man continue.
What a gesture.
Je suis Carlos da Cruz et je suis le Tour de France sur ITV.
Some things in life you've either got or you haven't. Like life insurance, for instance. You've either got it, probably with your mortgage, in which case you could be paying too much. After all, life insurance rates have more than halved in the last 5 years. Or you haven't got it, in which case who's going to look after your loved ones if something should happen to you? Thousands of people have already benefited from cheaper life insurance from Simply Millfield. And in a recent survey, over 93% said they'd recommend a friend. So what are you waiting for? With Simply Millfield, you get quality cover at affordable rates, all in one phone call. So whether it's a first-time policy or you have an existing policy and want to save money, call now on 0800 195 0030 or go online. Life insurance from Simply Millfield. You've either got it or you haven't.
Looking for a loan company that listens to you and understands what you want, offers a huge choice of loans and mortgages, provides great customer service and more? Well, if you're a homeowner, call Purple Loans free on 0800 499 499. They promise to act fast and aim to get you the best deal, even if you've had problems getting finance elsewhere. So whether it's that dream holiday you've been promising yourselves, improving your home with a fantastic new kitchen, clearing your existing debts and reducing your outgoings, or even a brand new car, add colour to your life and call Purple Loans now on 0800 499 499 or apply online.
There's one sure way to pick out a good driver. Check their no-claim discount. That's what eSure do. If you're a good driver with 4 or more years no-claim discount, eSure could save you up to 30% on your car insurance. Edward Brown saved £70 on his. Susan Paul saved £186 with eSure, and Mark Bennett saved £457. Are you one of the good guys? If you've got 4 or more years, no claims, see how much you could save. Call eSure on 0845 045 5545.
And for the £1 million question, is the capital of Peru A, Lima, B, Lima, or C, Lima?
If only everything was as simple as BT Together's new pricing options. At evenings and weekends, a whole hour costs just 6p. To sign up, call 0800 05 55 55.
Hola, soy Marco Belia y ustedes están viendo el Tour de Francia en ITV.
Sylvain Chavanel, the hero of the day, now going through this elite group of climbers. But one day, if that man continues with improvements like that, is going to be alongside Armstrong at the front. 2 kilometres, it will seem like 20 miles now, because it kicks all the way to the line. That's the difference between this climb and Alpe d'Huez. It doesn't stop until you're over the line, right? People will be caught waiting to catch the riders when they cross the line because there's no freewheel. It is staying uphill. And Jan Ullrich here, he looks to the right there to see if he can catch a glimpse in the crowd line of where exactly is Armstrong. He'll look for the helicopters too. He is still, and Morrow is now dangling off the back as well.
Well, I'm not surprised because Jan Ullrich has pulled back a further 5 seconds on Lance Armstrong. It is now 45 seconds, the difference between Armstrong and the Ullrich group. And the time bonuses are going to be very important. Ullrich will have to try and get himself second place because there's a 12-second time bonus for the second man to cross the line.
Well, in real time at the moment, the difference is exactly 1 minute in the overall classification. At 2 kilometres to go now for Jan Ullrich, and he's still closing. You see the difference in the pedalling ratios here. Always fast cadence for Lance Armstrong, and if Ullrich can get a little bit of a faster cadence on his bike, and then of course he'll go quicker because he always pedals a higher gear. Jan Ullrich now, he has given everything that's left in his body to try and keep this man in his sights. He is convinced if he can keep him in his sights, he will win the Tour in the last time trial. Well, Armstrong might have other ideas about that. Look at the perspiration just running off his face. He's going to lose another 7 kilos today in body fluids, I think. But for this time, it's going to be a special thing. He's heading now to his 16th stage win of his Tours de France.
I don't think they'll ever make that mistake again, Phil. They will pay very much attention to temperatures out on the roads of the Tour de France, and I think next time they come, Lance Armstrong will probably have himself an air-conditioned warming-up room. Ullrich is going through all kinds of pain right now just to keep himself in with a chance of winning the Tour de France. Armstrong felt that even with a 15-second advantage going into the final time trial, he could still win it. He looks back at his old performance over the last few years, when in fact, out of the 8 Tour de France time trials he's ridden, he's won 6 of them. He's only been beaten by 2 men in the time trial. One was Santiago Botero, the other was Jan Ullrich. The gap is still now holding at 50 seconds, but this man's face is a picture of agony.
This must be the hardest kilometre in the life of Jan Ullrich. The same might be said for Tyler Hamilton here, who's still holding the Ullrich group in his sights. He too might move closer to the leaderboard tonight. This has been an exceptionally good day for him. But this is the man trying to write his name as equal only to Miguel Indurain with 5 straight wins in the Tour de France. He has gone a long way to doing that today, and he's done it in the most bizarre of circumstance, falling off when he was hooked off his bike by a spectator, and now he's gone away, and Ullrich slowed the group down to let him back in, so they started the climb again together, and then Armstrong went.
Inside 500 metres to go right now. He's still got to keep that cadence as high as possible. He has to make sure that he doesn't lose very much time over the last 250 metres, because this Tour de France is all going to be about seconds. Seconds will decide this bike race at the end of the day. But what a brilliant performance. And he's still, you know, Phil, this is an interminable climb. It's a beast of a climb, and it does not finish. Even after the finish line, it kicks up right towards the summit, towards Spain.
There's plenty of people waiting to catch the riders, I can promise you that, as they come through here. The mist has come over the top. What an incredible day this has been. For 15 days we have shadowboxed one of the greatest Tours de France. Any one of 3 men could win it. They knew this climb was going to prove who was the best man. Armstrong, I think, in a week's time, will look back as winner of his 5th Tour de France, but I think we'll still be talking about who will win it when we get to the time trial, because Ullrich is a superbly good time trial rider. The American flags are flying now, though. This is a matter of pride again for Armstrong. A massive round of applause. No victory salute from Lance Armstrong. It's who's going to get hold of me, because the clock has started.
The 2 riders from Euskaltel-Euskadi are trying to get themselves the bonuses, and that's going to steal that away from Jan Ullrich. The 2 men, Iban Mayer and Zubeldia, in 2nd and 3rd position. But these men have closed down an unbelievable gap over the last few metres.
Well, they've done the dirty there on Jan Ullrich, because he's not going to get a time bonus, which might be the difference between winning and finishing 2nd in the Tour de France. They're all round the corner, but they feel they're obliged to do this to show their Basque friends and countrymen that they were there. And 4th place for Jan Ullrich, and I make it about 42 seconds. 40-42, it's not official. But that means Lance were 40-55, 1 minute 15 approximately. Lance now leads the Tour de France. Surely that's enough.
Well, that remains to be seen. Armstrong's advantage over Alexander Vinokourov, though, certainly will be enough. He came in 2 minutes and 7 seconds down. Not quite Vino Collapso, but after days of attacking on sheer strength of will, the superiority of the 2 men in front of him finally told. So there's the stage result. Armstrong with his 1st stage win of the Tour, and Jan Ullrich's group closing to within 40 seconds at the finish. Ivan Mayo took 2nd, Ullrich edged out Aymar Zubeldia for 3rd, so while Armstrong picks up a 20-second bonus for winning, Ullrich limits that damage with 8 seconds for 3rd. Sylvain Chavanel has to be content with a pat on the back from a passing race leader. After his long lone break, he came in 10th, nearly 3 minutes down. David Miller was 108th in the large group of riders that sticks together to avoid missing the time limit. So was the green jersey Baden Cook. They came in over 34 minutes behind the leader. Axel Merckx, though, struggled in another 20 minutes later. He was eliminated on time, and another 3 riders abandoned the race today. Now, if you think Armstrong's not counting every second at the moment, look at this. Before he got off his bike, he went straight to the nearest TV monitor, and there's his reaction when Ulrich picks up the bonus. Ulrich himself, meanwhile, seemed surprisingly happy when he got off his bike. Perhaps he was just bemused at yet another bizarre turn of events in a tour that's been dishing them up daily. First, we had the prospect that the entire tour might hinge on the handle of a spectator's food bag, as the defending champion, interpreting the racing line beyond the limits of personal safety, snagged his handlebars and hit the ground. Then, frantic seconds while he tried to get the chain of his bike back on, unaware that Jan Ullrich was doing the sporting thing and calling a halt to hostilities while his rival was down. Armstrong going crotch to crossbar as he pulled his foot out of the pedal and narrowly avoided going down again, and finally rejoining Ullrich's group and launching the attack that may in the end win him his 5th Tour de France. That's the bare bones of the story anyway. Here are the protagonists now to put some flesh on it, starting with Lance Armstrong explaining exactly what happened in that crash.
There was, must have been, a spectator had something, probably like a bag or, it's like, let me say, a musette, the feed bag. And the handle was just swinging around and caught my handlebar. And when something like that happens, the spectator holds on to it, and it holds onto your handlebar, and you know, immediately you go down, as we saw. So scared the hell out of me. But I was lucky that the bike wasn't messed up, because I got up and I thought, you know, if I have to change a bike or change a wheel, then it's going to take some time. But the only problem was the chain came off, put the chain on, and we go.
Ja gut, heute war richtig, also war wieder extrem schwer, ich denke mal die absolute Königsetappe. Und ich bin erstmal glücklich, dass es so gelaufen ist. Lenz ein Sturz, er ist attackieren gegangen, Mario hinterher, ich war auch wieder dran und dann ist er so dicht an den Zuschauer gefahren, war er selbst ein bisschen schuld. Und ja, denke ich, hat sich nichts getan, so wie er danach gefahren ist, und ich habe dann auch nicht weiter attackiert, und ja, Fairness ist, denke ich, alles auch im Radsport, und ja gut, Lenz war heute der Stärkste, aber ich habe gekämpft und alle Register gezogen, die ich hatte heute, habe auch am Tourmalet probiert wegzukommen, aber ja gut, also die Tour ist noch nicht vorbei.
It's the way that it should be. You know, it's when somebody, and in my opinion, when somebody crashes, whether they're in the yellow jersey or whether they're one of the favorites, you don't attack. And then, you know, if we remember, 2 years ago, Jan Ullrich had a big crash on the descent of the Pierre Sword and went off the road, looked awful. And I told everybody at the time, you know, only 3 or 4 guys left. I said, look, we have to wait for him, because we don't know if he's okay, we don't know if he's coming back. So the race is neutralized until he gets back, and so, you know, Jan was perhaps had that in mind today, and that was my payback, and I appreciate it.
Nein, was heißt geärgert? Ich meine, wer attackieren kann, der geht attackieren. Und Lenz hat sich sicher für heute alles aufgehoben und wollte heute wirklich alles klar machen, und ich finde, das ist ihm nicht gelungen, weil ja gut, es waren nicht seine gewohnten 2 Minuten Vorsprung, die er sonst rausfährt, die letzten vergangenen Jahre, sondern doch nur knappe 40 Sekunden, glaube ich. Und ja, was mich ein bisschen ärgert, dass ich halt Dritter anstatt Zweiter geworden bin wegen Qualifikation, aber da war nicht mehr drin gewesen für mich.
I think Jan probably still thinks he has a chance, and he may, in fact.
For the wicked or anybody else between here and Paris? Certainly none for the ITV Sport Accident Investigation Bureau, racking up the overtime on the great shoulder strap incident of 2003. We'll investigate the ethics of nicking 4 seconds you don't need from a man who's just spent 2 minutes waiting for you. But it's bags by your sides, please, and no leaning into the road for stage 16 from Pau to Bayonne. Hello from Bayonne. You know, if you can get decent odds on the tour being interrupted by alien abduction between here and Paris, it might be worth a flutter, because we've had just about everything else so far on this race. On the rest day, there was only one topic of conversation: the fallout from the fall that almost put out the defending champion.
Armstrong was waiting for somebody to pull in the flag, and now it was even. Oh, what's happened here? What has happened there? It seemed quite a normal corner. He must have hit somebody in the audience. Meaux has gone.
Well, they'd both gone, but they both came back courtesy of Jan Ullrich's decision to put sportsmanship before what would almost certainly have been a chance to win the stage and effectively the tour. He waited, Armstrong and Meaux rejoined the group, and of course in the end it wasn't Ullrich but Armstrong who went on to take a famous stage victory, and more importantly 52 precious seconds over the man in second place. He now leads the tour by 1 minute 7 seconds over Ullrich, with Alexander Vinokourov 2 3/4 minutes behind in third. Then it's another 2.5 minutes before you hit the rest of the top 6. Aymar Zubeldia, Iban Mayo and Ivan Basso. So, a mass of talking points thrown up by what might turn out to be the decisive stage of this year's Tour. Here's Ned Bolting to talk us through them.
It was one of the great dramas, not just of this Tour de France, but of any. And 2 days on, it's still hard to believe what went on the slopes of Les Ardiden. The first question is a classic. Did he fall or was he pushed? The tape seems to show that the yellow bag that caused Armstrong's fall was being waved by a child. Hardly a deliberate attack on the Texan, more like a freak accident. The second question is, what went through the minds of the other riders in the Armstrong group? Well, Tyler Hamilton went to the front and he made his feelings clear.
Hamilton here, speaking with Basso, saying slow it down and wait for Lance.
This is unbelievable. They are waiting for the man in the yellow jersey and he's come back.
I think I did the right thing. I went to the front of the group and told everybody to slow down and respect the yellow jersey. It's sort of an unwritten rule in cycling. When the yellow jersey has a mechanical problem or crashes, you wait till he's back on his bike, back with the group. So I felt like it was the right thing to do.
It's not the first time that Hamilton's looked out for Armstrong. After Bolocchi's fall, he was also on hand to help out his former teammate.
Cycling, you have to respect your competition. In both cases it was Lance Armstrong, but I would have done it regardless of the rider.
Once Armstrong was back in the saddle, he rode up to the leading group, not without incident. He lost his footing on the pedals en route.
I don't believe how he's managed to keep it upright there.
And then he launched an attack to which no one could respond. As he passed France's Sylvain Chavanel, who had spent 123 kilometres in the race lead, Armstrong reached out to him in acknowledgement.
Donc ça fait plaisir, c'est un geste reconnu des efforts qu'on a fait tout au long de la journée. C'est des images marquantes et je sais que cette image-là, on la reverra, ça sera une image historique.
Then there's the issue of time. The advantage that Armstrong rode out over Ullrich now totals 1 minute and 7 seconds. Is it enough?
I think Jan probably still thinks he has a chance, and he may in fact have a chance. He's riding very strong. He can time trial very fast, so it's not over.
But the day will live forever in the memory for that fall and then Jan Ullrich's extraordinary gentlemanly gesture. He could have ridden off hard and perhaps even tried to clinch the Tour de France there and then, but he didn't, because it would have broken cycling's unwritten code of conduct. Now, it's hard to see that happening in any other sport. It's rare to see cricketers walking willingly, and I can't exactly imagine Häkkinen slowing up for Schumacher. So it does cycling great credit that on a day when the biggest prize of all was up for grabs, there was something more important than just winning.
Well, the one language that laudable sentiment doesn't seem to have translated well into is Basque, because after Ullrich had waited for him, Iban Mayo sat cynically on the German's wheel, letting him do the work all the way up the final climb, and then jumped him for second place right at the death. In the process, he deprived Ullrich of 4 extra seconds worth of bonus, and while those 4 seconds mean absolutely nothing in the final analysis to Mayo, they could be crucial for Jan Ullrich going into that final time trial. Anyway, that's Saturday, today's Wednesday, and stage 16 from Pau to Bayonne.
The Tour de France on ITV.
With this centenary tour still balanced on a knife edge, the big question, perhaps the only real question, is will those 67 seconds by which Lance Armstrong leads Jan Ullrich be enough? Well, who better to judge that than the riders who sat with them in the saddle over the last 2,500 kilometres? Is 1 minute 7 seconds enough for Armstrong?
Yes. Sí.
Yes.
Sí.
No.
Ah, oui.
Yes.
Oui. Yo creo que sí. Sí. Weiß kein Mensch. Bin nicht Gott.